Meet our main guy, Eugene. Sure, he looks completely wrecked right now, but trust me, a major glow-up is coming. But first, he's about to get utterly slaughtered. It all went down because Eugene is a vampire, brutally hunted by the elite Holy Knights. After a massive manhunt, a massive blade finally impales his chest. Derek, the squad leader, boasts with a massive ego. Yo, bloodsucker, you've been scurrying around in the shadows for 6 whole months. Did you have fun playing hide and seek? You probably snagged a ton of victims while running, you disgusting freak. Getting cornered by us Holy Knights is a massive flex, honestly. But your little tragic movie wraps up right now. Not even the heavens can excuse your garbage. You should be honored. I'm the one taking you out. Thanks for the free XP. I'm claiming that Vampire Slayer title. You clowned the church and dodged our divine judgment way too long. Look at you, absolutely pathetic. Derek flashes an incredibly toxic, twisted grin. Oh, wait. Did you actually think that my delay was an accident, bro? I dragged this out on purpose. I let you run wild. It's been ages since a rare mob like you spawned. Milking this chase generated crazy hype and raked in massive cash for us. Plus, making an example out of you keeps the other heretics totally terrified. Hearing that absolute disrespect, Eugene snaps and launches himself straight at Derek's throat. But reality check, this world runs purely on survival of the fittest. The top dog dictates everything. Eugene desperately tries to dodge, but a brutal blinding slash rips through the air before he can even blink. Derek easily slices him wide open, securing a flawless victory, while literally cringing at Eugene's blood. He glares down with pure disgust. Your very existence is walking garbage, a complete stain on our sacred honor. Rot in hell with your regrets. As Eugene fades, he thinks, if I just had one more chance. Bam. Eugene violently gasps for air. Drenched in cold sweat, his chest heaving, his vision blurs. Wait, what the actual hell? He scrambles to process the situation. My throat was sliced open, but my arms and legs are fine. I literally just died. Am I dreaming? No. This feels way too real. This is definitely my old rundown cabin. The exact spot I hid before the Holy Knights tracked me. Wait, did I jump back 6 months? The squad hasn't even started their massive raid yet. Eugene stands frozen in the dim, damp hideout. I actually respawned in the past. Adrenaline spikes as he fiercely clenches his fists. If I really just hit the reset button. He scans the isolated, deeply overgrown woods. No humans for miles. The closest town is Broadwin. He'd been camping out here to ghost society, living as an incredibly pathetic, fragile vampire who spent every single day shaking in the shadows, literally scavenging just to breathe another day. Honestly, Eugene hated human blood, but in his past life he slipped up once. His feral instincts took over, and that single slip caused absolute chaos. Mercenaries rushed the town instantly, and 5 days later, the Holy Knights were completely locking down the area. They didn't care if it took a month or a year. They were obsessed with wiping him off the map, terrified out of his mind. Eugene had roughed it in these cursed woods for 12 brutal years, surviving entirely on nasty animal blood. He has absolutely zero clue why the universe gave him a redo, but he knows one thing for sure. He is never, ever playing the victim again. If playing it safe just gets me butchered, then screw it. I'm going to become so ridiculously overpowered that even if the whole church pulls up, they won't even scratch me. I'm tapping into true vampire potential. We absorb pure stats by draining life forces. The rarer the bloodline, the crazier the power-up. Suddenly a gargantuan, savage roamer erupts from the shadows. This beast is the absolute apex predator of the forest, and it violently charges at him. Caught completely off guard, Eugene gets slammed. The massive monster bulldozes him straight into the dirt. Eugene scrambles to his feet, eyes darting as he analyzes the threat. My stats are absolute trash right now. All I can do is sweat and dodge, but if I can manage to land just one tiny scratch on this thing. He glares dead at the beast with psychotic determination. Just one scratch and I'll drain it dry in his past life. Eugene tried his hardest to just fade out of existence. But now that he knows playing the pacifist gets you killed, he's not holding back anymore. Right now, more than anything else in the world, Eugene craved an absolutely massive surge of power. His blade instantly exploded into shrapnel against its diamond-hard hide. The roamer didn't miss a beat, whipping its massive tail with lethal force. It launched Eugene like a rag doll. He slammed into the dirt, skidding wildly across the terrain. Taking that brutal impact, he knew it was do or die. An eclipse-like shadow swallowed him whole. His pupils dilated in pure horror as the beast unhinged its colossal, terrifying jaws. Had he completely misjudged a roamer's true lethal potential? For context, roamers are apex predators born from nature totally different from your average demon realm trash. Even in total dead zones with zero magic, some of these freaks still pack internal mana cores. We're talking loot way more precious than actual diamonds. For a roamer, that glowing core is their literal heartbeat. If he could just rip it out, Eugene could completely flip the script. But honestly, the level gap was insane. He definitely brought a knife to a gunfight. This supposed golden opportunity threw him straight into the cage with the undisputed tyrant of the woods. It was practically guaranteed to flatline him before he even left a dent. The Titan plunged directly into the lake, kicking up a furious, chaotic tsunami. It dragged Eugene down into the abyss, clutching him like a midnight snack. Suffocating panic set in. Maybe he had been way too arrogant, assuming that surviving once meant he had permanent plot armor, believing a second or third miracle was just waiting for him. Nah, I ain't ever been that delusional, he thought. But out of nowhere, the monster's pupils violently shrank in pure, unadulterated dread. That's exactly why I stay grinding in the shadows. Eugene twisted the metaphorical knife, making the beast scream in agony, lungs burning, clawing desperately just to see tomorrow, just to make it out alive. I chose violence. That raw, savage drive ignited Eugene's veins, making his entire body radiate with a blinding aura. Scrap. Dominate. Because if he took a loss right now, it was game over forever. He blindly plunged his hand straight into its chest cavity. One slip up here, and he was permanently logged out. Digging deeper, starving to claim his prize, the beast roared, and the glowing crimson core was right there for the taking. Because at the end of the day, climbing to the top means stepping on corpses. To breathe another day. After that chaotic underwater bloodbath, the lake went dead silent, until without warning, a radioactive blinding flash erupted from the depths. The mangled carcass of the forest tyrant floated up. I swore to myself, if destiny handed me one more shot, I'm done running away. We step up and fight. The very air around him bled into a thick, sinister crimson. So right here, right now, I'm claiming the crown and the carnage. Eugene stood chilling in the wreckage, flexing and inspecting his newly leveled up physique. He threw a sideways glance at the fallen titan and smirked internally. I literally only wanted a sip of the boss's blood. But his body hijacked the entire glowing core instead. The raw energy pulsing from this thing was off the charts. It vibrated with a sick alien hue he had never laid eyes on. And the sheer size of it, absolutely massive. The core's surging magic instantly morphed into a slick armor of obsidian scales across his skin. With this epic buff, Eugene might actually unlock immunity to the sun. Daywalking, huge win. He first heard the rumors about this forest king back when he was chained up by those dirtbag mercenaries. Back in the day, this swamp was basically a puddle, so it was completely off the radar, a total ghost myth. But after some apocalyptic monsoons and massive flooding, the beast's hunting ground blew up in size. It crashed the mercenary camp in a straight-up ambush. In the middle of that slaughter, Eugene snagged a desperate gulp of the wounded titan's blood. That quick power-up gave him the juice to drop a few guards and dip. Knowing exactly what that premium fuel tasted like, he was dead set on coming back to drain the whole tank. Even with this insane stat boost, he was nowhere near ready to box with Knight Young Darrett. No point catching a fade I can't walk away from, especially since he was paranoid that Darrett could track him down literally anywhere. The guy was basically a walking radar for monsters and souls. So, playing hide-and-seek forever wasn't the play. He needed to grind in the shadows until he could face him head-on. Sunlight is creeping over the trees. No time to test drive these shiny new powers right now. Gotta ghost and get back to base before the sun fully pops. Out of nowhere, an eerie, bone-chilling whisper sliced through the silence, making him freeze. The fake king is finally dead. That parasite hijacked my territory and trashed a crystal-clear lake into this toxic dump. You handed him the brutal end he deserved. Good looks on taking him out. However, you still trespassed on my turf and painted my sanctuary red. And for that disrespect, there is absolutely no forgiveness. This territory belongs to me. I am Miriam, protector of these waters. The sun will scorch you, the earth will reject you, and a brutal hex will strike you down. It will shred your flesh to ribbons. Wait, even if I scream that crusty old bloodsucker probably can't hear a single word I'm saying. After all, spotting a spirit requires some serious supernatural juice. Shattering her petty trash talk, Eugene shot back. What exactly are you? His blunt question made the entity freeze in its tracks. Did my voice stun her, or can she seriously not see me? Eugene doubled down. I said, what the hell are you? Miriam's jaw practically hit the floor in pure shock. Wait, you can actually see me. You're a vampire, aren't you? Hold on. Did you hear every single word I just ranted about? Eugene instantly connected the dots. She was definitely the one calling him a crusty vampire earlier. Sweating bullets, the spirit frantically bowed in respect. My name is Miriam, I'm a water spirit. I used to rule this entire zone. But 15 years ago, that mutant fish hijacked my home and forced me into servitude. Well, actually, calling it a tactical alliance sounds way less embarrassing. Since nasty water drives away potential meals, that beast let me manage the shore. But honestly, I owe you everything. Now that the overgrown guppy is dead, this ecosystem can finally heal. It's all you're doing, I literally watched it happen. That ugly fish swallowed you whole and I thought you were toast. But then boom, a massive explosion, and suddenly this gorgeous guy steps out of the wreckage. Were you rocking a disguise just to bait that monster? That is some massive brain strategy right there. Eugene completely tuned out her chaotic rambling. You really only care about your own survival, huh? Staring at his skin, Eugene murmured. One of my tattoos is fading. How did that happen? Meanwhile, Miriam awkwardly cleared her throat. I should probably address you properly now, right? That ink looks super dope. What's the hidden meaning behind it? Is it some kind of elite warrior crest? How many enemies have you stacked up? Brushing off her hype, he gave a cold shrug. Beats me. I have absolutely no clue. I've had these marks for an eternity. Honestly. When did I even turn into a bloodsucker? His mind drew a total blank. It felt like he popped into existence exactly like this. His absolute oldest memories featured those 10 cryptic symbols scarred into his flesh. With his ancient history completely wiped from his brain, Eugene had survived by constantly staying on the move, never pausing long enough to question his own origins. If these marks act as some mystical seal, did surviving today shatter one of them? Whatever it is, I need to stay sharp and navigate this forest cautiously. Sensing his imminent departure, Miriam panicked, totally desperate to keep her new companion around. Come on, it's been ages since I had a real conversation. Are you seriously ditching me already? These days, humans with the sight are practically extinct. Do you have any idea how mind-numbingly boring it gets out here? Having a chatting buddy would be the absolute best thing ever. Cutting her off, Eugene pointed out her actual job description. Shouldn't you be busy fixing this toxic swamp and turning it back into a pristine lake? She visibly groaned at the thought of doing actual work. Do you know how many centuries that massive cleanup will take? Listen, a stunning guy like yourself would glow up even harder if you hydrated with some premium quality water. As a water elemental, I brew the most incredible thirst-quenching drops. Chug some of my pure spring water and your skin will look absolutely flawless. Watching her excitedly conjure a floating orb of liquid, Eugene instantly recoiled in disgust. Knock it off. He coldly commanded the spirit to scram. Refusing to take a hint as he walked away, she desperately lunged for his coat. Master, please wait. I can purify any toxic sludge into a 5-star beverage for you. Eugene aggressively yanked his arm free from her grip. Hard pass. Miriam trailed right behind him like a stubborn puppy, insisting that playing hard to get was a terrible life choice. Boss, listen to me. You belong to the vampire clan now. Fast forward a few days. The remote settlement of Broadwin Village was enjoying a peaceful moonlit night until a panicked scout suddenly kicked the doors open. Chief, get out here. The crimson-eyed beast just rolled up. A panicked villager holleril. The entire settlement swarmed the plaza, their jaws hitting the dirt as they stared at the massive pile. Holy crap, is that a wild boar? We're feasting tonight, Chief. Check this out. It's a massive haul. Are we keeping all of this? One clueless teen turned to the elder. What is going through that monster's head? He usually only drops off a single carcass every full moon. The chief caught the vibe but couldn't piece the puzzle together. This totally broke the beast's usual schedule. The crowd swapped bewildered glances, thinking about the mysterious outsider, that bizarre freak camping out at the foot of the mountain, the absolute unit everyone dubbed the Red-Eyed Demon. He'd been chilling in their backyard for over 10 years without scratching a single soul. Actually, whenever the full moon hit, he'd dump fresh game for the locals. No one could wrap their heads around his true motives. Eugene finally broke the silence. Mind if I step inside the perimeter? Over a decade ago, his debut had the locals shaking in their boots, but since he consistently delivered free meat instead of throwing hands, the panic totally faded. This weird, unspoken alliance had been going strong for a solid 10 years. Now they treated him like family. It's been a minute since you showed up. Got something on your mind? Eugene said as he reached up and slowly pulled off his hood. I isolated myself in the woods because of a severe disease, but after laying low for so long, I'm finally cured. I came to let you know. You guys have been insanely cool to me, and I want to return the favor. If this town ever catches any heat. The second his face caught the light, the entire crowd froze, totally starstruck. Whoa. They couldn't process the absolute masterpiece of a man standing right there. Just say the word and I've got your back. His insane glowing visuals had them totally hypnotized. This was the red-eyed demon, holy crap, they were absolutely shook. Was this forest loner a mutant or straight-up royalty? He'd been rocking a mask this whole time, hiding a face crafted by the gods. Right then, Miriam popped out from the shadows, scratching his head. Yo, Eugene, did you seriously just hand over our entire stash of meat? What is your endgame here? Aren't vampires supposed to be all about bloodshed, slaughter, and catching bodies? Eugene shot down that crusty mindset. In human society, networking is everything. Dropping favors builds hardcore loyalty. Miriam stubbornly pushed back. So you're just gonna vibe with them, without draining their blood? Bro, you literally said we're dipping in a few days. So why even bother playing nice? Eugene wiped the smirk off his face and laid out the grim reality. I thought we could stay out of it, but fate had other plans. I refuse to just sit back and watch this massacre. When those mercenaries blitz this place, they're gonna flatten the entire village. Miriam gasped, piecing together Eugene's obsession with that local kid. He whispered, they're raiding Broadwin, just to snatch that boy, drag him to the Lord's fortress, and silence him for good. They'll leave no survivors. And if we don't shut this down right now, the Holy Crusader Knights will definitely catch wind and storm this territory. Miriam was seriously torn, not entirely buying the hype. Is Eugene actually spitting facts, and if so, how the hell did he predict the future? A total massacre. Even after kicking it with Eugene for days, he's still a total wild card to me. What kind of crazy scheme is he cooking up? Eugene smirked, letting the impending chaos prove his point. Just watch. But first, we need to hack the villagers' trust, so they truly believe I'm harmless. Miriam, still totally lost in the sauce, kept pressing him. What does beefing with heavily armed mercs have to do with building trust? Hey, watch where you're walking. He slammed face first into Eugene's rigid back. Miriam grabbed his nose, whining, damn it, that freaking hurt. He glared up, grumbling, why the hell did you hit the brakes? It hit him a second later. Rushing straight toward them was a massive squad of heavily armored guards out for blood. The second they spotted him, the whispers started flying. Who's the weirdo? Looks like he wandered straight out of town. What's the play here? I was banking on sneaking in unnoticed. Sizing him up, they saw a fragile-looking guy flying totally solo and completely empty-handed. But if he started screaming, their cover was blown. Refusing to risk it, a bandit hoisted his axe and lunged, aiming to silence him for good. Miriam's voice ripped through the panic. Eugene, run. The attacker launched himself into the air, perfectly coiled for a lethal strike. But in that exact split second, Eugene's pupils ignited into a terrifying deep crimson. Living up to the legend of the red-eyed monster, Eugene barely flicked his wrist, and the attacker was just instantly deleted. The absolute horror plastered on the remaining thugs' faces spoke volumes. Eugene calculated his next move. Miriam, think this through. Why bother playing nice and building trust with these locals? I stepped in to wipe the slate clean, leaving zero trace of suspicion behind, because I am going to completely obliterate these mercenaries. Right on cue, an icy chill swallowed the dying glow of the setting sun. The dead silence shattered with a spine-chilling shriek. That's a literal vampire. He's a monster. Going totally feral, Bayo charged headfirst, swinging his broadsword down with reckless abandon. A vampire. Who cares? This is a massive jackpot. We bag him alive, hand him over to the church, and cash in a legendary bounty. But his greedy fantasy was about to get a brutal reality check. Out of nowhere, a massive surge of invisible energy stopped his spear dead in its tracks, deflecting the lethal blow like a solid wall. Bayo violently started shaking under Eugene's dead-eyed, murderous glare. Without uttering a single syllable, Eugene drove a devastating punch straight through the guy's gut. Yet one battle-crazed lunatic in the crew was still feeling way too confident. This freak is insane, but even if I drag him back as a mangled corpse, I'm getting paid. Eugene just effortlessly twirled his blade while the fool bragged. I'm claiming this bloodsucker's head right now. In a flash, Bayo was completely bodied. Now the spear-wielding maniac sprinted forward, screaming, "Die, demon." Bro, do not rush him, blind a teammate shrieked from the back line. But the madman's face was locked in sheer unhinged resolve. I'm gonna crush you, he roared. Yet Eugene effortlessly caught the strike with his heavy armored gauntlets, totally unfazed even as his own palms dripped crimson. Drenched in cold sweat, the fanatic started vibrating in pure, horrified disbelief. Back off, he stammered. But Eugene's piercing neon red stare only dialed the nightmare fuel up to an 11. As absolute darkness consumed the forest, Eugene moved at the speed of light, slashing clean through the unhinged attacker, sending a massive visceral spray of crimson scattering into the shadows. Showing absolutely zero mercy, he stomped his boot flat against the dying man's face. By now, the remaining mercs had circled him. While bodies writhed in pure agony beneath him, Eugene smirked fearlessly. "The night is my domain," he whispered with icy precision. "It's the absolute perfect cover for bloodstains." Total panic infected the ranks. "Do not engage solo. The dude is a literal monster. Rush him together." Suddenly, massive bonfires erupted, casting a haunting, flickering glow across the pitch-black battleground. The surviving mercenaries looked totally drained of life. "No way. This is impossible," they stuttered, staring at an endless sea of mangled bodies scattered throughout the blazing inferno. "How did it get this bad? Did that red-eyed freak honestly massacre everyone?" "Did you do this?" they demanded. Eugene's eyes, still flashing that lethal crimson, fired back smoothly. "Obviously not. I stumbled onto this graveyard while heading back from a hunting trip. I was just doing my trap rounds and found them completely wrecked. Looks like your boys caught a brutal ambush on the way to Broadwin Village, and the culprits wolves." The men gasped, totally refusing to buy the story. But looking closer at the wreckage, they spotted massive black wolves scattered around, rocking horrific fangs and razor-sharp claws. "Black wolves," Eugene continued with ice-cold calm. "They were totally starved and rabid. I just capitalized on them tearing into the corpses to land a stealth strike. The proof is right there. I managed to take out a handful, but trust me, the pack vastly outnumbered your crew at first. The stragglers that booked it are probably still lurking in the shadows hunting us right now." The boss was insanely skeptical. "Those beasts are notorious as the deadliest predators in this entire region. How could one guy solo them? Could the red-eyed monster really be innocent?" Just then, men shouted out to their leader, "Chief, we've got massive claw marks ripped into the dirt over here." The whole squad got shredded by wolves. Eugene quietly analyzed the situation. Sure, black wolves are wildly aggressive, but there is zero chance they would ever have the guts to raid a mercenary caravan this heavily armed. The leader broke the heavy silence, his voice dripping with guilt. "My bad, man. I was totally out of line for." Eugene just brushed it off with icy calm. "No big deal, anyone can mess up." "But what about the bodies? What's your move here? I couldn't just ditch them out in the dirt, so I'm laying it all out for you." The chief shook his head grimly. "We absolutely cannot leave them out here as midnight snacks for wild animals. They need a proper send-off. We're burying them back at the settlement." Miriam leaned in, whispering sharp and low, "Eugene is literally everything that comes out of your mouth, a straight-up lie." After absolutely wrecking those mercs, packs of ravenous wolves caught the scent of fresh blood and swarmed the turf. Eugene had already cleaned up his mess, literally carving fake bite marks into the corpses with his own bare hands, all to stage the perfect grisly cover-up. Sure, faking a crime scene is one thing, but why is he acting so obsessed with keeping up this innocent facade? If he had just ghosted the area immediately, he wouldn't be drowning in all this drama. But even then, he couldn't dodge the side-eye. You could practically see the gears turning in his head before he suddenly spoke up. "Oh yeah, while I was looting their pockets for some ID, I snagged this. Looks like some kind of secret letter from the mercs. Want to take a look?" Miriam mentally screamed that they absolutely had to. The damn thing was officially stamped with Lord Tyan's crest. The chief snatched the parchment, muttering, "What in the world is this?" But as his eyes scanned the ink, all the color drained from his face, leaving him dripping in a dead-cold sweat. "Wait, is this actually for real, Philip? Does Philip seriously live in our village?" The massive crowd of locals started buzzing, completely dying to know the tea. "Spill it, Chief. What does it say? Is Philip still around? What the hell is going on?" Out of nowhere, the chief dropped a massive bombshell. Philip was actually the secret illegitimate heir to Lord Tyan himself, and those heavily armed mercs, they were sent here to snatch him up. The revelation instantly sparked a massive wave of shocked whispers. "Wait, what? That random kid is literally a royal." Meanwhile, Komia stared in absolute terror, barely breathing as dark crimson blood sprayed across the battlefield. It was straight up unreal. One single dude had just absolutely flattened their entire elite squad. "If this keeps up, we're all getting packed up in body bags. Stop freezing. Fight back, even if this guy is a literal demon. He's still just flesh and blood, with 2 arms and 2 legs. Do not just blindly rush him, box him in." His face was completely wrecked, smeared in dirt, and bleeding out. Shaking like a leaf, he realized there was absolutely 0 chance of escaping. Then out of nowhere, this absolute menace pulled up. Komiya locked onto every single brutal, devastating swing of Eugene's sword, practically using his own men as human meat shields. Right then, Eugene's razor-sharp, blood-red eyes snapped dead onto him. Before Komiya could even blink, a brutal, gut-wrenching punch sank deep into his stomach. The insane force launched Komiya off his feet, sending his body crashing violently into a massive tree trunk, with a sickening, bone-shattering crunch that echoed through the entire forest. After absolutely flooring, Komiya Eugene dashed right over to where the guy was pathetically dragging himself across the dirt, sobbing. "Stop. Please just stop. Have you literally been stalking us this entire time? Why are you hunting us? We just had a job at that settlement over the ridge." At that exact second, Eugene stepped up, his gaze glowing with pure, unadulterated murder. "I was just dying to know exactly what kind of garbage you were pulling in my territory. That town, it belongs to me." Komiya's eyes swelled with bloodshot terror as he groveled. "Please, I swear to God. I had zero idea you were the Blood Lord. The overlord of this zone. We totally weren't here to hunt vampires, I promise. There's this bastard kid from the Taiyan bloodline, laying low in there. Everyone thought he was long gone, but he's been hiding in the shadows this whole time. We just came to bag him," Eugene responded, his tone chillingly flat. "You're a terrible liar. Drop the act and tell me your real endgame. You seriously expect me to believe you mobilized a whole freaking army just for that? Were you planning to slaughter the entire population?" Komiya shrieked, absolutely losing his mind. No, I swear it wasn't like that. Look, okay, we weren't actually hired by the main Taiyan family. The hit was secretly ordered by the two main heirs, Camera Taiyan and Bertel Taiyan. They paid us under the table, probably because of some insane royal family drama. Our only actual mission was to kidnap that secret half-brother of theirs. We only brought this massive squad as backup, just in case things went sideways. Please, man, just let us walk." Hearing this massive lore drop, Eugene aggressively ground his jaw, fury radiating off him. So Bertel really was pulling the strings from the shadows. Bertel Taiyan, the freaking captain of the vampire extermination unit. The exact same guy who used to serve right alongside Derek, his old knight brother-in-arms. Bertel wouldn't be dumb enough to explicitly order a full-blown village massacre. No, the mercs definitely got greedy and planned that bloodbath all on their own. But that exact power move put a massive target on his back, instantly snagging the attention of the Holy Knights. With the entire settlement wiped off the map, they deployed a massive strike team to investigate. The sole survivor shook like a leaf, stammering out, We just saw an opening for a quick cash grab. We wanted a piece of the pie. If we had any clue the Bloodlord was lurking around, we swear we wouldn't have dared." Eugene, just soaked in the panic, casually dusting off his trench coat. Pivoting on his heel, he tossed a sickeningly sweet warning over his shoulder. "All right then. Watch your back for wolves on the long walk home." The guy's face drained of all color, shivering like a ghost. You're really letting me walk. Oh my God, thank you so much." But literally one heartbeat later, Eugene's blade ripped clean through the dude's throat. Crimson sprayed like a fountain as Miriam smirked from the sidelines. "Bro, what's the actual point of giving him false hope after slaughtering his entire squad?" Eugene didn't even blink. "The second they figure out I'm a vampire, their fate is sealed. 0 survivors." He threw a sharp glare into the tree line right as wild wolves caught a whiff of the fresh massacre. Meanwhile, back at the settlement, the panicked locals were aggressively grilling their elder. "Are the rumors actually real?" The elder let out a heavy sigh. "Yeah, those mercs were a heavy security detail hired to drag Field back to the capital." Jaws literally dropped to the floor. "Wait, Field, that random stray kid from last year, who lives totally off the grid, he rolled into our town 8 years ago. Don't tell me." The elder cut through the murmurs with a grim tone. "The elite hitters sent to retrieve Field got totally shredded by wild beasts out there. So what the hell is our move now?" Before panic could fully set in, Eugene strolled into the spotlight. "So you guys need to smuggle this kid, Field, straight to the Lord's territory." The elder nodded frantically. "Yes, exactly," Eugene smoothly cut him off. "Listen, if armed mercs got completely bodied by the wildlife out here, you need a local. I've survived in these woods for ages. I can absolutely ghost past the predators and get the boy there in one piece." The elder's eyes bugged out in pure disbelief. "Wait, are you seriously offering to bodyguard Field? We couldn't possibly dump that kind of burden on you." Eugene flashed a sickeningly warm, hero-like smile, totally burying his dark aura. "Hey, no sweat. As a sworn knight, it's literally my duty to step up. I can't just look the other way." Off to the side, Miriam muttered under her breath, "Eugene, you are unbelievably shameless." But mid-sentence, her jaw unhinged in absolute horror. Like she had just spotted a demon, she froze. The entire crowd of locals mirrored her eyeballs practically popping out of their skulls. Someone from the back absent-mindedly blurted out, "Whoa," unfazed. The man parted his lips, dropping a butter-smooth, super polite introduction. He bowed slightly, putting on an absolute, "Allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Yan Eugene, proudly representing the—" A random dude scoffed. "Yeah, right, who's buying that?" But that sheer audacity sent shockwaves of pure panic through the crowd. "Wait. This crimson-eyed psycho is high society royal—" "Shut your mouth. Do you want to get us killed?" one hissed. "Show some respect and address him as my lord." Miriam leaned in real close, whispering a harsh reality check into his ear. "Dude, even for a fake flex, you are taking this way too far." But Eugene just smirked, absolutely eating up their terrified reactions. His internal logic was flawless. These backwater hicks had zero interaction with real aristocrats. Out here in the boondocks, casually dropping a noble title to protect a stray kid caused an absolute uproar. Even if I'm totally faking this royal persona, they have zero way to fact-check me. Completely fooled, the locals started staring at him with hardcore adoration. "Lord Yan Eugene, were you actually a high-ranking paladin this whole time? Why on earth would you ghost society and rot in these cursed woods for over 10 years? Did you take massive battle damage? Were you recovering? Or wait, is this some hardcore secret night training arc?" Eugene just gave a shady open-ended shrug. "Let's just say, complicated circumstances forced me to sever all earthly ties and embrace the shadows of—" The crowd instantly erupted. "It all makes sense. Ever since you hauled those care packages into town, you just gave off total main character energy. Only a warrior with crazy overpowered stats could survive solo in these woods." But then the elder chimed in with a heavy dose of reality. "But our community is dead broke. We literally don't have a single coin to fund this mission." Eugene dropped his voice into a gravelly, dramatic register. "Don't sweat the gold. All I desire is a quiet place to crash and wash away—" "Mind if I crash here tonight?" The village chief flashed a warm grin. "Nonsense. That's a tiny request, though our place is a little tight. Please make yourself at home." Outside, the crisp breeze under the starlit sky felt incredibly refreshing. Eugene's gaze drifted into the void. Staring off into the horizon, he let his monstrous side slip out. The vampire lord's hand brushed softly against the rough masonry. This was a sick buff gifted by the master of the woods. His piercing eyes glowed like menacing blood-red rubies, enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. His monstrous claws casually traced the stone wall. Coated in pitch-black scales, this armor gave him some solid resistance against the blazing sun. That would definitely make daytime travel way less brutal. Miriam snapped at him. "You dumb bloodsucker. What goes through that head of yours?" Spinning cap with zero hesitation. "You seriously claim to be a knight, bro? Can you even read?" Eugene gave a quick dismissive shrug. "Hey, maybe they'll bust me eventually. But I'm dipping out of here soon anyway, so who cares?" Miriam pressed on. "All right, spill it. What's your actual endgame here? You've been chilling in the woods forever. Why suddenly play nice with these locals and take on this job?" Right on cue, a voice shouted out. "My lord, we're all set. You can head out whenever you're ready." He leaned in and murmured to Miriam. "Watch and learn. Overnight, I've leveled up my rep. People blindly trust a fancy title way more than actual logic. You can spout massive amounts of lies, but with the right rank, 100 messy excuses boil down to one unquestionable truth. Sure, only this backwater town would swallow such a rushed fib. High society snobs wouldn't fall for it so easily. That's exactly why I'm going to forge this fake persona into reality. Just like the heroic feats Ein pulled off earlier, completely winning over the locals' unwavering loyalty." The village chief flashed a massive beaming smile. "I was super paranoid. Lord Eugene might get the wrong idea, so I went ahead and drafted a recommendation letter. Field. No, the kid Field. Please watch over him on your journey. By flexing real power to back up these wild tales, the masses would definitely eat from the palm of his hand." Field shuffled forward, blushing nervously. "I am Field. It's an absolute honor to meet you, sir." Eugene plotted internally to spin his entire web of deceit into hard facts. He drastically needed to rank up in society. Eugene spoke up. "So you're Field. I am Yan Eugene. Nice to finally meet you." As Eugene schemed about securing legit noble status, a flawless blue sky stretched over the lush emerald canopy. The duo slowly trudged their way out of the settlement, kicking up dust on the trail. Eugene casually asked about the carved village signs. Field nodded toward a wooden marker. "Yep, that's exactly what it says." Eugene raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you can read." The kid scratched the back of his neck, totally flustered. Yeah. My mom taught me the alphabet before she passed away. She came from nothing and never stepped foot in a real classroom. She always said she picked up reading from the guy she fell in love with. It's crazy to think that person was Lord Tian. Miriam snickered directly into Eugene's mind. Well, jackpot, make the kid tutor you. Eugene didn't skip a beat. Could you teach me how to read? The boy practically jumped in shock. Wait. Seriously, me. But you're a high-ranking knight. How do you not know your letters? Eugene let out a heavy dramatic sigh. Knight is just an empty label. My bloodline crashed hard. It's really nothing to flex about. I didn't survive this cruel world by pushing a pen. I survived by swinging a blade. Philip stammered, did the Eugene family fall into ruin? Instead of answering, Eugene just dropped a heavy, solemn silence, playing the tragic victim perfectly. Keep questioning my past, kid, and then slowly give me your unwavering loyalty. Once I lock down that blind trust, it'll be a bulletproof shield for every single lie I've spun. Miriam floated beside him, endlessly amused. Oscar-worthy acting right there, bro. But hey, whatever works. But spinning too many webs is definitely going to raise some major red flags. Judging by the kid's expression, he's actually buying your story. Philip hesitated, his voice dropping. My bad. Honestly, I totally doubted you for a minute. Sometimes you claim you're some kind of freak, and then you turn around and act like straight-up royalty. The whole village treats you like a demon, so yeah, I was pretty biased. But I'm done listening to the gossip. I need to see the truth for myself. Look, if you grew up in a hardcore warrior, clan skipping out on reading makes total sense. To save you from looking foolish in public, I can totally tutor you when we've got some downtime. Philip's tone softened. Please, just spill the tea on Lord Eugene. Out of nowhere, a lethal throwing knife whipped right at his eyeball. Field's face went absolute ghost white. He let out a blood-curdling shriek. In a split second, a massive beast materialized, snatching the blade midair to pull Field from the jaws of death. The ambushers cracked up, totally amused. You gotta yank it back hard, exactly how I trained you, bro. I'm doing exactly what you showed me. Field stood completely frozen, drenched in a cold sweat. He choked out, what the hell is going on? It's a stick-up genius, the lead hunter smirked. What, never been mugged before? Man, the look on your face is absolutely priceless. Now chop, drop your gear, and dump out every single thing in your packs. Move it, or you're all taking a dirt nap. But Eugene didn't utter a single syllable. He just whipped his blade in a brutally vicious arc right at the guy's neck. Thud. The bandit's severed head popped off, spinning through the air like a twisted piece of candy. The remaining thugs stood absolutely paralyzed. Philip stared at the heavy, lifeless head bleeding out on the dirt, completely traumatized. One of the raiders whirled around, screaming his lungs out. Boss Eugene just shrugged, completely unbothered. Hey, I dropped everything just like you asked. Clean, ruthless, and brutally fast. The enraged hunter yanked out his battle axe, spitting pure venom. You son of a... But before he could even finish, Eugene instantly cleaved him in half, painting the forest floor deep red. With just a handful of lightning-fast strikes, Eugene shipped the entire crew straight to the afterlife. The last surviving grunts desperately backed away, begging and crying out, somebody please help, but Eugene just loomed over them, his eyes practically glowing with murder, aiming his dripping sword right at their chests. A final brutal thrust pierced straight through the bandit's heart, leaving the battlefield eerily silent. Eugene casually strolled through the carnage, inspecting his work. It absolutely blows my mind. Why do humans immediately default to robbery and murder the second they spot an easy target? He violently twisted his sword deeper into the fallen scumbag's ribcage. Do they really think being pathetic gives them a free pass to prey on the weak Field? If you hit the books, would you finally get how this twisted world works? Field was shivering violently as he tried to speak. Suddenly, thick, dark blood erupted from the wound in a horrific fountain. Eugene wiped his mouth, his voice dangerously low. You literally just told me you wanted to uncover the truth yourself. Whether you trust me is completely your call. But I promise you this. I won't let a single drop of blood ever touch you. Fast forward, the massive chaotic vibe of the local market. Swarms of locals flooded the streets, drowning the air with aggressive merchant pitches. Step right up. Super rare herbs fresh from the northern monster zones. Only 20 silver a stack. A few stalls down, a massive argument broke out. Are you kidding? The guy down the street sells this for literally half. Bro, be for real. My stash is premium tier. Miriam gazed at the insane crowd, her voice actually quivering with hype. This is so insane. Look at all this bizarre loot, Philip suddenly chimed in. Hey boss, if you're seriously dropping cash here, you better watch your back. He warned I used to tag along with my old master here. These vendors are completely toxic scammers. You'll get totally finessed. They basically milked my master dry every single time. Suddenly, a random customer screamed, "Yo, they're doing 50% off over there. Give me a damn refund." Eugene just scanned the chaos, realizing he actually needed to secure the bag before stressing over getting scammed. Stepping up to the newly abandoned counter, he glanced over his shoulder. "Field, hold up here a sec." "Got it." Eugene slammed his massive loot bag onto the wood. "Yo, shopkeeper, I'm looking to offload some pelts. Give me a solid price check." The shop owner spun around, his interest instantly piqued. "Oh, Shadow Wolf skins? You never see drops like this around these parts. Where'd you even farm?" These Batu's eyes narrowed, scanning his new customer with deep suspicion. The mysterious dude was completely swallowed up by a massive black cloak, forcing the greedy merchant to practically squint to get a good look. Peeling back the layers in his mind, Batu mentally clocked the guy's absolute trash-tier battered gear hidden underneath. This guy's no pro trader. Just some broke drifter. Batu smirked internally. Jackpot. Time to absolutely fleece this total noob. Batu plastered on a greasy smirk, his voice dripping with fake pity. Oh man, these pelts are completely chewed up. Who is even going to buy this garbage? 18 silver coins. Tops. Suddenly, a piercing crimson glare sliced through the shadows of the stranger's hood, locking dead onto the merchant. A cold shiver violently spiked down Batu's spine. His gaze frantically darted around the room. What the hell? Why are his eyes glowing like fresh blood? Batu's voice completely cracked. Actually, now that I look closer, black wolf furs are super rare right now. So, I can bump up the payout. Eugene didn't utter a single syllable. That merciless red stare had the merchant sweating bullets. Dude, if you're pissed, just say it. Batu forced out a painfully awkward chuckle. Guessing you're new to these parts, huh? You're a funny guy. Tell you what, I'll bump it to 23 coins. Batu nervously choked out another fake laugh. Like I said, must be your first time around here. Real comedian, aren't you? I'll make it 23 coins, he stammered out before quickly backpedaling. Wait, 25 coins. Eugene simply let out a low, menacing hum. Catching that death glare, Batu frantically jacked up the offer. Ah, wait, forget 25. Field's jaw practically hit the floor in shock. Eugene let out another low rumble. Absolutely terrified, the merchant squeaked out. 28 coins. Eugene just dragged out the hum even longer. His glowing red eyes radiating pure, unfiltered alpha energy. Batu was completely losing his mind. Are you kidding me? How much is this creep gonna bleed me dry? Scrubbing a sweaty hand over his face, he blurted out, 30 coins. That is my absolute limit. Philip stood there, utterly speechless, absolutely blown away by the massive payout. Works for me, Eugene coolly replied. As night consumed, the sky-flickering candles bathed the room in a cozy golden glow. Eugene squinted down at the parchment. Man, these letters look like chaotic scribbles, he thought to himself. I picked up the bare basics from Field, but actually being able to read and write fluently, yeah, that's a long way off. Jagged ancient runes marched across the weathered paper in rigid lines. Suddenly, the bubbly voice of the water spirit echoed through the quiet room. Hey, this isn't half bad, it chimed, popping into view. I mean, a true vampire absolutely needs to rock pure silk, but this gear is totally worth the cash. Eugene smiled in satisfaction. Honestly, I was pretty stressed about getting ripped off, but this market is surprisingly generous. They even hooked me up with some sweet rookie perks just for being a first-time buyer. Miriam slapped a hand over his mouth and snickered. Oh, honey, you are literally a walking goldmine for these shady hustlers. Flashing back to that sketchy old merchant sweating bullets, while hiking up the price, Miriam's eyes sparkled with mischievous greed. He threw his hands up. Dude, you totally should have squeezed him for every last penny and snagged a high-end silk wardrobe. Eugene just shrugged it off. I literally just need something thick enough to keep the sunlight off my skin. That's it, Miriam dramatically gasped, looking absolutely scandalized. Are you kidding me? You have got to romanticize your life a little. Have you seriously just been rotting away in the muddy woods this entire time? The spirit's mind instantly drifted to the most insane, over-the-top rich lifestyle imaginable. A real vampire needs to be dripping in pure aristocratic luxury. I'm talking a jaw-dropping gothic castle bathing in moonlight, flexing in imported silk, getting hyped up by obsessed servants while sipping the finest, freshest blood. You need some actual ambition if you want to be a top-tier boss. Eugene brutally cut him off. Hold on, You literally live in a muddy swamp. How on earth would you know anything about luxury? Miriam crossed his arms defensively. Excuse you, I reside in the elite spirit dimension. Every now and then, ancient surface-dwelling spirits pop back down and spill all the epic tea, he flexed proudly. Listen, as long as you avoid getting impaled by a glowing silver blade or a splintery wooden stake, you're locked in for at least 200 years of life. So you better start grinding and leveling up that brain, master the ancient runes, become perfectly fluent in the high imperial language. Eugene deadpanned, so, do you even know how to read? Miriam answered without missing a single beat. Nope. Eugene let out a heavy sigh. Right. So besides mixing drinks, what exactly is your skill set from far away? Philip's exhausted voice broke the heavy silence. Sir, he mumbled, his face looking completely drained. Who exactly are you talking to? Eugene glanced over his shoulder, his expression totally unfazed. Nobody. Just thinking out loud. Are you holding up all right? Philip let out a shaky sigh. My bad, you had to see me break down like that. While I was skinning that rabbit, my mind just instantly flashed back to this morning. The gruesome image of that bandit getting absolutely slaughtered replayed in his head, making his stomach churn all over again. Miriam just shrugged it off. Guess the brutal gore was way too much for him to handle. It's chill, Eugene replied coolly. Regular folks aren't wired to stomach that kind of bloodshed. Snapping back to reality, Philip quickly chimed in. But hey, don't stress about me. I've still got plenty of gas left in the tank, and we've got the whole night ahead of us. He flashed a bright smile, waving a quill over a fresh parchment roll. We are completely stacked on paper. I can literally teach you how to write until your hand cramps up. So wrapped in the dead quiet of the midnight forest, the duo locked in and aggressively focused on their writing practice. Out of nowhere, Eugene broke the silence. Is mastering the alphabet seriously this effortless? Philip chuckled. Nah, that's just because you're low-key a genius, sir. It literally took me solid months to get the hang of it while your average peasant needs an entire year. You're definitely hyping me up too much. Eugene smirked before his tone shifted. But Philip, is this really going to be enough if you want to level up in life? Just knowing your ABCs isn't going to cut it when you're literally about to become a noble in 0 time. Hearing that brutal reality check, Philip's confident gaze immediately dropped to the dirt. His voice wavered with massive doubt. Honestly, I have absolutely no clue. My mom completely ghosted on giving me the actual details, and I haven't really wrapped my head around the whole noble status yet. It still feels like a total fever dream. A completely hollow, lost expression washed over Philip's face. He kept going. To be real, I didn't even expect Lord Tyan to actually open his doors for me. Suddenly, the heavy sound of footsteps echoed as a sketchy crew emerged from the shadows. One of the massive figures stepped into the firelight, flashing a friendly grin. Evening travelers. We're currently hunting for a spot to crash. Mind if we pick your brains for a quick second? Eugene's piercing eyes discreetly scanned the newcomers, instantly calculating their threat level. Heavy weapon, full tactical armor. They even dragged a literal carriage behind them. These guys were worlds apart from the trash-tier mercenaries they usually ran into. These dudes were absolute pros. Another stranger from the squad spoke up. Well, look at that, there's literally a kid with you guys. Mind telling us your final destination? Eugene subtly shifted his mask, hiding his icy reaction. He knew exactly how these mercs operated. One single stutter, and they'd immediately smell blood in the water. Keeping his voice deadpan, he answered, We're making our way to Lord Tyan's fortress. The mercenary's eyes instantly lit up. No way, same here. How about we team up? We're fully stocked with booze, fresh water, and roasted lamb. Suddenly, an arrogant voice barked from the back of the crew, and a cocky blonde dude shoved his way to the front. Yo, Captain Partek. What the hell is the point of this? Let's just crash here together. Nobody's gonna stop us, right? Eugene's glowing red eyes narrowed dangerously behind his mask, his aura turning pitch black. The captain frantically threw his hands up to de-escalate the tension. My bad, man. Seriously, ignore Robin. The kid's a complete rookie in our squad and hasn't figured out his manners yet. Just let it slide. Beating his chest, he officially introduced himself. The name's Partek. And you are? Eugene deadpan claimed to be a knight, making Partek raise a highly skeptical eyebrow. Wait. Rabin scoffed loudly, practically yelling, Yo, Captain Partek. This clown actually claims he's a knight. Are you seriously buying this absolute garbage? Look at him. Dressed like a total beggar. And calling himself a noble. 0 armor, no horse to his name, make it make sense. He aggressively stepped into Eugene's personal space, sneering. Cut the crap. You're no knight. So who the hell are you really? He aggressively jabbed a finger at Eugene. Eugene of what house exactly? Because I've literally never heard that irrelevant name in my life. He smirked, oozing toxic certainty. You're just a pathetic fraud. That massive disrespect instantly flipped a switch in Eugene, his face darkening as his dead eyes screamed murder at the man standing before him. Eugene rapidly calculated his options. He had already flexed his knight status to Philip, so backing down now would completely blow his cover. Plus, there was absolutely zero chance these heavily armed mercs rolled up on them just to share some campfire vibes. He stayed dead silent, letting his cold eyes do the talking while he analyzed their The knight title was completely irrelevant now. If these guys kept pushing their luck, this whole forest was about to become an absolute bloodbath. His glowing red eyes locked onto the aggressive mercenaries like a predator spotting its prey. He did a quick head count, barely a handful of targets. He could easily wipe them all out. Without flinching, Eugene smoothly slid his hand beneath his heavy cloak. His fingers wrapped around his hilt mere milliseconds from drawing blood, when suddenly a freezing glare shot out from the shadows, backed by an intensely furious voice yelling Raven. A brutal strike cracked across Raven's jaw, launching him backward. He tumbled wildly across the dirt before violently slamming into a thick tree trunk. Partek instantly folded into a perfect 90-degree bow. My deepest apologies, he begged. Sir Eugen, please excuse the sheer stupidity of our newest rookie. Shooting a quick glance at the crumpled Raven, Eugene smoothly brushed it off. Don't sweat it. Just go ahead and set up camp. The veteran mercenary let out a massive breath of relief. Thank you for your incredible mercy, sir. Meanwhile, Eugene was already plotting his next move in his head. He knew he'd face heavy scrutiny moving forward. To crush any incoming suspicion, he absolutely had to lock down an official knighthood, and fast. Brushing off the drama, he dropped back down next to Philip to decode some letters. A few yards away, Rabin was still completely laid out in the dirt. After a solid minute, the kid finally snapped back to reality, utterly baffled. He jolted upright, stammering, "Wait. Huh? Why the hell did you hit me?" Partek, casually lounging nearby, clicked his tongue. You absolute moron, Rabin. His brow furrowed into a heavy scowl. Do you literally have a death wish? Are you seriously insane enough to charge at a literal knight? The rookie just blinked, completely clueless to the massive danger he'd just been in. Watching the dense kid fail to grasp the situation, Captain Partek lost his patience. He clocked him over the head one more time. Good grief, kid, the only reason you're still breathing right now is because I stepped in. You nearly got this entire squad wiped out. Massaging the massive welt on his skull, Rabin whined, Bro, what's so terrifying about that totally average-looking dude? He's literally carrying a beat-up training sword. Partek barked back. You're seriously judging a book by its cover out here. Open your freaking eyes, he spat. Did you even clock the price tag on that guy's cape? That is top-tier genuine wolf pelt. Even with bottom-barrel silk lining, a piece like that easily runs over 10 gold coins. Hearing that, the rookie's jaw basically unhinged. Wait, it's that insanely expensive? Hell yeah, Partek snorted. That's easily 3 months of your miserable paycheck. Back at the campfire, Eugene was intensely zeroed in on his reading, but the veteran captain was already busy analyzing his every move. The dude can actually read. He is definitely not your average peasant. Partek shot Rabin a lethal, freezing glare. Listen to me. He was half a second away from unsheathing real. We were dead meat. At best, only me and maybe one other guy would be walking away from that. The rookie blinked naively. How could you possibly know that? Partek's mind flashed back. While you were running your mouth, his right hand slipped straight under his cloak. The captain's eagle eyes hadn't missed a thing. He'd clocked Eugene's left foot, sliding flawlessly into a pivot. He's a total He instantly shifted his entire center of gravity right in line with his weapon. It was an execution stance. A chilling mental image of a blade instantly decapitating the kid flashed through Partek's mind. He swiped a thumb across his own throat. If I had reacted even a split second slower, your head would be rolling in the dirt right now. Swallowing hard, a visibly shaken Rabin stuttered. All right, man. You saved me. I get it. Partek scowled, staring at the kid suspiciously. Do you seriously have zero clue what real knights are actually capable of? Realizing he was talking to a brick wall, he laid it out. These guys are born into ancient, blood-soaked families. They're handed practice swords as toddlers and spend every waking moment mastering pure slaughter. They dive headfirst into pitch-black, unmapped dungeons. They have zero fear of the Reaper shredding through nightmarish monsters and butchering enemy soldiers just to rack up glory. Only the ones absolutely dripping in blood catch the eyes of the high nobility earning the ultimate title of knight. His voice dropped into a dead serious whisper. And faking that title, that is a massive crime. Real or fake, messing with one guarantees pure chaos. Anyone insane enough to impersonate a knight is absolutely not someone you want to piss off. Unless they're god tier with a blade, no one would ever take that kind of massive risk. Out of 1,000 guys who swing a sword, barely any ascend to knighthood. So a dude looking barely 20 claiming that rank his combat skills must be absolutely monstrous. Cold sweat started dripping down Rabin's pale face. Swallowing his pride, he hesitantly whispered, "Wait. So, he's actually stronger than you, boss." Partek didn't even flinch. Without a doubt. He shuddered, remembering the piercing, mysterious red eyes glaring from behind that mask. And on top of that, he's marching straight into Lord Tyen's stronghold. Word on the street is a fresh dungeon just dropped nearby. Maybe he's stepping in to crack it open. Since we're pushing toward the exact same spot, our paths are bound to cross again. Meanwhile, Eugene thought to himself, man, it's a good thing I played this smart. Does flashing the title of knight seriously hold this much power? If this bluff holds up, great, but we definitely need a solid backup plan. His sharp gaze drifted to the crew across from him as he analyzed the situation. Minus the guy currently knocked out cold, the rest of these dudes are actual seasoned mercs. So why on earth would House Tywin hire a bunch of street-level thugs instead of top-tier pros like them? Or better yet, just deploy their own private guard? The whole setup smelled fishy. Suddenly, he pushed himself up and closed the distance between them. Robin's voice completely cracked. Why? Why are you walking over here?" Eugene casually peeled off his mask, revealing his face. "I caught wind that you're also marching toward Lord Tywin's stronghold." Bathed in the moonlight, his insanely flawless visuals practically glowed. "Since we're all riding to the same drop point, why don't we just team up?" His entire aura flexed so hard, it legitimately left them dazzled for a second. Rabin practically choked on his words. Yeah, absolutely." Fast forward through the night, and by dawn, the whole squad was rolling into Martella. It was a cozy little village deep inside Lord Tywin's territory. Trailing behind Eugene silently celebrated his massive luck. These mercs actually bought his fake knight persona. Tagging along was the perfect cheat code to drain them for intel. But right on cue, Miriam squealed with pure hype. "Sir Eugene," the little spirit floated right up to him. "I did exactly what you asked. I completely eavesdropped on the mercenaries' gossip session." Eugene's ears instantly perked up. "Spill it. Anything juicy." Miriam immediately dropped the tea. "So Lord Tywin's health is literally tanking. Like it wouldn't be a shock if he kicked the bucket tomorrow." Oh, and a totally untouched dungeon just spawned on his turf. Clearing that out would be an absolute goldmine. But here's the catch. House Tywin is totally broke and completely lacks the manpower to raid it. Absorbing the massive info dump, Eugene's gears started turning. An unmapped dungeon who? Miriam's tiny voice suddenly broke his focus. Wait, but if Lord Tywin is basically on his deathbed, what happens to the kid? Is he just going to pull up and instantly become an orphan? Eugene shut that down ice cold. "Not my problem." The spirit gasped, genuinely shook. "Then what is he supposed to do?" Miriam panicked. "Dude, what if his toxic relatives totally mistreat him?" Eugene shot a sideways glance at the boy. He realized the only reason Lord Tywin summoned Field was probably to get one final look at his kid. A dying man's last wish. Eugene's expression remained completely locked, but deep down he knew the truth. From this exact moment, both of their destinies were about to permanently shift. Heavy hooves pounded against the rocky ground. Loud commands echoed through the air. They had finally made it. Golden morning rays spilled gently through the massive iron gates of Lord Tywin's stronghold, the Rose Hall. The entire caravan marched straight into the insanely massive courtyard. Eugene blinked, genuinely caught off guard. "Okay, this place is way more stacked than I thought." Miriam was literally vibrating with excitement. Eugene, oh my gosh, Eugene. You seriously need to level up and claim a castle like this someday." Eugene immediately snatched the spirit out of the air. "Zip it and just follow my lead," he hissed coldly. Before they could get far, a sharp voice barked out, demanding they state their business. Partek slapped on a giant professional smile. "Greetings. We're the hired muscle dispatched from the Palin Trade Guild. And who might you be, my noble lord?" The dazzling blonde guy stepping forward was none other than the eldest son of House Tywin. Piercing blue eyes, dressed in absolute high-fashion drip. "I am the future head of this house, Chimera Tywin." He crossed his arms. Is that massive stash of cargo in the back ours? Partex bowed respectfully. Yes, sir. As you can see, we've secured the payload and brought everything safely. Kamara waved a hand dismissively. Cool, then stop dawdling and start unloading. His sharp gaze suddenly snapped over to Eugene's squad. And who the hell are they? Why are they just standing there like statues? Eugene stepped up smoothly. An absolute pleasure. I am Knight Ian Eugene, and this kid right here is… But before he could even finish the sentence, he was brutally interrupted. A booming shout exploded from behind them. Brother Camrez. What in the world are you doing? Eugene's eyes fiercely locked onto the sound. That voice. It hit him with a massive wave of deja vu. The shouting came from a guy leading a heavy cavalry unit right on their tail. Bro, seriously, how many times do I have to tell you? I thought screening random strays was entirely your responsibility. A silver rose crest gleamed sharply against his dark cloak. Eugene's crimson eyes narrowed to dangerous slits as a chilling thought crossed his mind. Asterisk, how could I ever forget that wretched voice? Asterisk, the absolute commander of the Dragon and Demon Extermination Unit. The very first bastard to sniff out his sanctuary. Back in the day, this guy and Darrett had dragged him through absolute hell, Sir Bertil Tywin. A prestigious knight, and the fiercely ambitious second son of House Tywin standing right alongside his older brother Kamara Tywin. Kamara, looking thoroughly unamused, flashed a paper-thin, patronizing smile. Do I seriously need to run every minor, pathetic detail by you? If a stranger walked in right now, they would swear times you times were the ruling heir. Bertel stiffened instantly, backpedaling in a panic. That is out of nowhere, a sharp voice cut through the tension, whipping both of their heads around. Hey, a swift figure marched right up to the bickering siblings, shattering the heavy silence. Listen up, this urgent dispatch just arrived from the Broadwin village elder. Bertel immediately extended his gloved hand to snatch the parchment, but the messenger totally psyched him out violently, yanking it back and leaving the second son grasping at empty air. Instead, the letter was slapped straight into Kamara's palm, who shot the messenger a totally bizarre look. Oh! The elder of Broadwin, Kamara, snapped the wax seal, his eyes scanning the ink before his jaw practically unhinged. No freaking way. The entire mercenary squad got wiped out by a wolf pack. And this stray kid you dragged all the way here, he is an illegitimate bastard. Field, who was hovering nervously in the background, started sweating bullets the second the spotlight hit him. He frantically scrambled forward, bowing so low his spine nearly snapped. Hi there everyone. I am Field, he stuttered out incredibly awkwardly. Kamara's face immediately split into a dazzling plastic grin. Well, look at that. So you are our brand new baby brother. He laid the sugary sweetness. Meanwhile, Bertel's face completely twisted into a dark, utterly disgusting. We have been expecting you. The patriarch is extremely eager to see your face. Bertel gritted out his voice, practically dripping with venom. He instantly barked at the guards, drag him to the baths and scrub that filth off, and throw some respectable clothes on him. Without missing a beat, the heavily armored grunts seized a wildly confused Philip, hauling him away by the arms. Yes, my lord, but before they could drag the kid off, a massive figure stepped right into their path, completely blocking the exit. Hold it right there. The booming command was so icy that even the raging Bertel snapped his neck around to glare at the man. Stepping fully out of the shadows, Eugene coolly laid out his uncompromising, I am cashing in my bounty. Let us talk about my hard-earned reward right now. I want a direct audience with the Lord. Bertel's face instantly exploded into a tomato-red mask of pure fury. Absolutely not, he roared. Unfazed Eugene tilted his masked face, genuinely baffled. Not even for a 5-minute chat he pushed. Bertel instantly snapped back. The patriarch's health is incredibly fragile right now. He can barely string a sentence together. I will cover your damn fee in pure gold bars. Take the cash and get the hell out of my sight. Beneath his dark hood, Eugene's piercing eyes ignited with an eerie blood-red glow. I literally marched through hell to drag your precious little brother back to this estate. But the hot-headed knight completely shut him down, his rage bubbling violently over the edge. Do not make me repeat myself, mercenary. Suddenly Kamara chimed in with a slick, instigating tone. Oh, come on. What is the actual harm in a tiny visit? Bertel flushed a violently deep purple, whipping around to bark at his brother. But Kamara just crossed his arms, rocking a highly punchable, breezy smile. Look at it this way. It is basic manners to introduce the newest addition to the family. A quick hello will not kill anyone. The younger sibling violently shot that idea down, screaming that the old man only had about 60 minutes of actual sanity left per day. There is zero chance I am wasting that precious time on a nameless drifter. Kamara just smirked a wicked glint in his eye. Wow. So now you are dictating the Lord's daily schedule all by yourself. Losing his absolute mind, Bertel practically invaded his brother's personal space, roaring, "Why the hell do you keep twisting every single thing I say?" Despite the screaming match, the older sibling stayed chillingly relaxed. Kamara suddenly pivoted to the mercenary, cooing, "Oh, my deepest apologies, Sir Eugene. Since my sweet little brother absolutely loves playing pretend, as the ruling heir, he is making your life totally miserable." He casually slung an arm over Eugene's shoulder, flashing a deeply toxic smirk. "So seriously, watch your back on the road home." With a sickeningly sweet vibe, Kamara reached out and grabbed Philip's trembling hand. "Come along, baby bro. Let your big brother show you the ropes. Let us go on a grand tour of your new kingdom." Okay, the terrified kid stammered. Eugene just watched the whole messy spectacle unfold silently through the dark slits of his mask. Asterisk. So, that was his game. This snake never planned on letting me anywhere near the old man. Asterisk. Right then, heavy Galfredrick stomped onto the scene, casually hauling a bruised thug over his massive shoulder. "Found your guy right here. I have been hunting your ass down since dawn." Bertel immediately rushed over, gesturing wildly. What the hell is the meaning of this? The giant unceremoniously dumped the groaning captive face first into the dirt. "Ah, just some trash-tier mercenaries who thought it would be fun to squeeze the local villagers for cash. They dodged their combat drills and just sat around leeching off our supplies, so I dragged them in for discipline." Galfredrick's rough face suddenly shifted into something much more menacing. He slowly clapped the heavy dust off his massive calloused palms. "How about we chop off a head to set an example?" Despite his tough talk, he looked secretly panicked, nervously shooting a quick side-eye. Even though these guys were just temporary muscle hired for the dungeon raid, Bertel violently shoulder-checked his way past them. He dragged him down the hall, muttering, "We'll handle that trash later. I'll make them pay, but there are way too many eavesdroppers out here. Let's take this inside." Gelfredick looked totally caught off guard, but he just nodded and followed along. Out of nowhere, Partek slid into the scene, leaning in to whisper, "Yo, that's Sir Gelfredick, isn't it?" Eugene shot him a look. "You know the guy." Partek nodded instantly. "Oh, absolutely. At the massive tournament the Evergrow clan just hosted, he snagged third place. The guy is an absolute prodigy, with freakish, monster-level brute force. Not to mention his combat mechanics are insane. Rumor has it, he slaughtered over 1,000 challengers in the arena that day." Hearing this crazy stat, Eugene narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Why would a top-tier powerhouse like that drag himself out to this run-down border wasteland? Partek stroked his chin, theorizing. It's gotta be because of the newly spawned dungeon, even if it's out in the boondocks. The first knight to conquer a virgin dungeon racks up an astronomical amount of clout. Raiding a fresh dungeon is basically a death sentence. People are getting wiped out left and right. Sir Gelfredick is probably trying to use this insane risk as a stepping stone to get scouted by one of the royal-tier noble houses. Partek spaced out for a second, mulling over the politics. Suddenly, Eugene snapped him back to reality. Partek blinked, turning around. "Hey Partek, your current contract expires today, right?" Partek hesitated, clearly sensing a catch. Yeah, it does." But why? Eugene just flashed him a sly grin. "Perfect. Then how about I hire you for this next run?" Fast forward to nightfall. A blinding full moon drenched the courtyard in silver light, illuminating Bertel and Gelfredick as they relentlessly drilled their grunts. High up in the manor, Kamara stared down through the frostbitten glass. Asterisk. I have to be the one to conquer this dungeon raid. Asterisk. Asterisk. Ever since our old man's health tanked, my snake of a brother has been ruthlessly gunning for the heir title. And now he's gone and roped in a heavy hitter like Sir Gelfredick. Asterisk. He is 100% plotting to snag the glory of clearing that dungeon for himself. Asterisk. If he pulls that off, the public's loyalty will flip to him in a heartbeat. Asterisk. While Kamara was spiraling in his own head, a heavy knock echoed through the room. Asterisk. Damn it, what is my play here? Asterisk. It is way too late to scrape together some random street mercs. I am totally out of options. What the hell do I do times? Suddenly, a muffled voice cut through the oak door. "Young master, a knight named Eugene is requesting an audience." Kamara's gears turned for a split second before barking out Eugene. Asterisk. Wait, isn't that the wanderer who Send him in. The servant bowed and pushed the heavy double doors wide open. Step right inside, Sir Eugene. Kamara shot up from his chair, plastering on a fake diplomatic smile as he walked over to greet him. You don't need to stress about Field anymore. I've personally locked down his security. The second my father wakes from his coma, he'll drop a massive bounty in your lap for keeping my brother alive. And honestly, giving that top-secret letter straight to me instead of my rival sibling. I owe you one for that. It took a massive weight off my chest. Eugene cut through the small talk, making Kamara tilt his head in sheer confusion. Glad to hear it, Eugene smirked, his predatory eyes flaring a menacing crimson in the pitch-black room. My business was strictly with the lord of this territory. But some random third party crashed the party, and honestly, it left a seriously bad taste in my mouth. Kamara paused, raising a single skeptical eyebrow. Oh, he slumped back into his leather armchair. So let's cut the filler. What to meet the old man face to face and verify some identities? Eugene shook his head slightly. That's only half of it. I'm actually here to strike a deal with you, Kamara. I want a spot on your raid squad. The squad that's going to wipe this dungeon clean. Kamara just stared at him for a second before bursting into a roaring, mocking laugh that bounced off the giant stone walls. He propped his chin up with one hand, looking Eugene up and down like he was a complete joke. Gotta admit, you're way more unhinged than I gave you credit for. This whole knight title you parade around. Kamara scoffed, his eyes scanning Eugene's battered, dirt-stained gear in pure disgust. Did you literally just make that up to sound cool? I heard you took down what may be 5 low-level bandits, and now you think you can tag along to leech some free clout for your fake knighthood. Give me one valid reason why I shouldn't just kick you out. Eugene didn't even flinch. He casually crossed his legs, his voice dropping low. Because Lord Kamara, considering your current desperate situation, this is a god-tier offer. He caught that and immediately demanded clarification. What exactly do you mean? Instead of answering, you completely dodged the question and just started rattling off the perks. Look, if we actually manage to crack this thing open, my cut is just 100 silver and 50% of the basic drops. But I need absolutely all the mana crystals strictly reserved for me and my squad. Kamara cocked his head to the side, his eyes narrowing. That deal is almost too good. Honestly. It's giving me major red flags. You fully realize you're lowballing yourself way below the standard cut, right? Eugene didn't even try to backpedal. So do we have a deal or what? He flashed a cocky smirk and casually lifted his hand. Let's be real. You're the one absolutely desperate right now. Definitely not me. Kamara tracked his every move, totally on guard. Knights literally breathe honor. Glancing at his threadbare gear, the guy screamed rogue warrior, totally lacking a noble family's bankroll. Plus, he definitely wasn't out here desperately chasing the bag. It looks like his reputation is his whole personality. On top of that, based on that earlier chat, you totally just hijacked his train of thought. The one scrambling for a lifeline is you, buddy, not me. The second that brutal truth dropped, Kamara's eyes practically bugged out of his skull. His brain instantly flashed to Bertel and Gelfredick. Gelfredick. Kamara's lips instantly curled into a downright sinister smirk. This dude absolutely knows how to play his hand. He's way sharper than those brain-dead meathead warriors. Gripping the armrest, he pushed himself upright. Fine. I'd be absolutely insane to pass up a golden ticket like this. I'm leaving it entirely in your hands, Sir Eugene. Kamara let the words hang heavy in the air, then deliberately extended his arm. His palm hovered right there, suspended directly in front of Eugene's chest. Magic crystals are an absolute nightmare to purify and insanely expensive to forge, while standard drops can be flipped instantly for pure cash. Staring at Kamara gave Eugene massive flashbacks of Partek. I'm going to hook you up with a totally legit high-tier trading syndicate. If you, Sir Eugene, lock in and swear you're only grabbing the basic scraps, then Sir Kamara will definitely greenlight this on the spot. Gelfredick flipped the dagger between his knuckles and let out a mocking scoff. How absolutely hilarious. Bertel stared blankly out the glass and muttered, He's literally dragging another warm body into the raid squad. It is way too late for him to try and fight fate now. He spun the blade flawlessly, shooting him a cold glare. Labyrinths aren't some cute little sandbox for kids. You slip up once, you're rotting down there forever. It is literally just survival. If some pathetic dead weight tries to drag down our clear time, I will violently veto it. Bertel just gave a heavy internal shrug. Oh right. What's the deal with the new paladin? My brother dragged in. He gripped the top of the wooden backrest. right where Gelfridik was lounging. Honestly, my expectations are completely underground. My brother is totally iced out by the local elites and his network is basically zero. If you can, I need you to deliver that brutal reality check right to his face. He swiveled toward Bertel, scoffing. Why are you dumping this massive headache onto my plate? Suddenly a booming voice echoed down the hall, instantly snapping both their heads toward the door. Ah, my bad for keeping you guys waiting forever. I was just catching up with my newest recruit, so allow me to officially reveal our newest raid party member. Eugene confidently swaggered into the room, his entire squad flanking him. Sir Eugene and his absolute powerhouse mercenary crew. Taking one single look at the guy, a cynical thought immediately sparked in Bertel's brain. It's literally that exact same dude from before. He clocked the massive gang of hired swords trailing behind. Bertel instantly stepped up. Okay, my brother is officially crossing the line here. We absolutely cannot let some random nobody with zero verified stats crash our raid party. Kamara defensively crossed his arms, dragging out his words. His background. Sure, but as for his actual combat level, I will personally vouch for his kit. He flashed a megawatt grin, gesturing dramatically to hype the guy up. Fun fact, my little bro literally just briefed me. Those rogue gangs have been relentlessly griefing our borders. They've been an absolute nightmare for us, right? Well, rumor has it Sir Eugene unleashed a tactical blade art and completely wiped them off the map. Just during his casual commute over here, the polished steel in Gelfridik's grip caught the light with a lethal, blinding glint. With stats like that, I'd say his DPS is more than enough. Right, without a single warning, he whipped his arm forward, launching the dagger straight at Eugene's skull like a bullet. Eugene's pupils instantly shrank, as his survival instincts screamed. In a literal blur, his hand shot down, tearing his longsword straight from its scabbard. Pure fire erupted from his slash, violently batting the projectile off its path. The deflected blade slammed into the stone wall, instantly blowing a massive chunk out of the masonry. It carved a terrifying, jagged crater deep into the room. Thick gray smoke curled off the trembling metal like the weapon itself was literally cooking. Still slouching in his seat, Gelfridik rested his chin on his knuckles, his lips stretching into a completely thrilled, maniacal grin. Dropping his hand, he abruptly exploded out of his chair, vaulting to his feet in a split second. Oh ho! He began stalking toward Eugene with slow, extremely predatory steps. Huge apologies for the completely toxic introduction. I just had to check your reflexes. Eugene scanned him back. Perfectly smooth skin, zero battle calluses, totally shielded from the sun. This kid 100% grew up sheltered in a royal palace, huh? Yet standing right face to face, the guy was leaking an absolutely suffocating, toxic bloodlust. Little friend, care to show off what you're made of? As night fell, the entire crowd flooded into the arena, bathing the courtyard in the eerie glow of flickering torches. Word of the showdown traveled like wildfire through the streets. Sir Gelfridik was demanding a duel right this second. Spectators absolutely packed the stadium, starving for a good show. They just had to witness the insane power of the knight, who snatched third place at the tournament and literally ripped monsters to shreds with his bare hands. Holy crap, is that guy even human? Fans jammed both sides of the entryway, totally clueless about who the poor challenger even was. Tuning out the heavy whispers, Eugene ice-coldly strapped on his heavy metal gauntlets. Man, I kind of feel bad for that dude. Gelfridik wasn't sweating it at all. Honestly, the veteran looked absolutely hyped. He dragged his blade's tip across the stone, kicking up blazing sparks. Hoisting his weapon high, his entire vibe shifted into deadly focus. His cocky grin vanished in a flash. Eugene just gave him a deadpan head tilt, then casually dropped his gaze to the dirt. He whipped his greatsword through the air with such insane power that the very earth spit fire. Stepping up to call the match, the center ref cleared his throat and bellowed the countdown. The split second his voice dropped. A bell ringer up top yanked the rope to kick things off. Boom. A massive foot stomp completely shattered the arena floor into jagged pieces. Steel shrieked against steel. Blinding sparks exploded as both warriors violently shoved their heavy blades toward each other's throats. With a savage final strike, Gelfridik and Eugene shoved off, painting the battlefield in a brutal shower of golden embers. The veteran wildly waved his hand in a cocky bring-it-on taunt. Eugene locked his wide, intense gaze onto Gansek, fully absorbing the sheer disrespect. Eugene blasted forward like a bullet, unleashing a relentless hurricane of strikes to trap him. Rabin totally lost it, screaming from the stands. Look at Sir Eugene go. Sir Gelfridik is getting absolutely destroyed. Partek crossed his arms, dropping some hardcore facts. Nah man, he's just testing the waters. Keeping his eyes glued to the bloodbath, he watched Sir Galfredrick fake a retreat. The giant effortlessly deflected every single one of Eugene's wild swings without even breaking a sweat. In fact, a wicked smirk crept across his face. Galfredrick silently analyzed his target's rhythm. This kid's blade work was super raw. He had zero textbook habits, making it totally impossible to read his fighting style. It wasn't some elite academy technique. It bled pure feral energy like a beast raised in the wild. He threw up a hand, gesturing for Eugene to back off. Sucking in a sharp breath, Eugene actually looked pumped. Right on cue, Galfredrick smashed a parry and opened his mouth. "Yo, little buddy, your whole knight status is totally fake, isn't it?" Galfredrick mocked with a brutal sneer. "Your sword game has zero foundation. Your footwork is absolute trash. You've clearly never had a real lesson in just hard carry with your crazy brute strength." Eugene froze mid-step at the call-out. Sure, sword skills aren't the only thing that makes a knight, but just a few heavy clashes will totally expose a fighter's true colors. Riding that mental edge, Galfredrick used his explosive momentum to launch a massive mid-air strike at him, but Eugene clutched up, snapping his guard up just in the nick of time. "You've got a seriously loud mouth," Eugene scoffed with a dark grin, throwing down an ultimatum. "Tell you what, if you can actually beat me, I'll keep my mouth completely shut." Then he violently lunged back into the fray. The impact was insanely heavy this round, and Eugene barely had a microsecond to parry the massive weapon sideways. But Galfredrick instantly capitalized, whipping his sword upward to brutally pin Eugene's blade to the dirt, completely breaking his defense. The veteran knight punished the slip-up immediately. Galfredrick blitzed forward, ripping into a savage spin that totally caught Eugene lacking. He sent a lethal swipe directly at the kid's skull. Eugene barely managed to block, but the kinetic energy was absolutely crushing. Boom, Eugene got launched like a ragdoll into the arena wall. Bertel snickered from the sidelines. The rest of the audience dropped their jaws in absolute shock. He looked totally out cold, but his knuckles were still white-knuckling that hilt. Eugene slowly lifted a deadly glare, and then he scrambled back up, dodging falling rubble as the crumbling wall collapsed behind him. A blindingly fast sword slash whistled right past Galfredrick's ear. The two warriors locked eyes, the tension between them thick enough to cut. Galfredrick smirked to himself, genuinely stunned by the kid's crazy speed. Eugene fiercely parried Galfredrick's heavy blade downward, slamming it into the dirt. But the older knight just kept grinning as Eugene firmly planted his footing and twisted into a vicious spinning slash aimed right for the kill, yet Galfredrick's reflexes were absolutely insane, countering with a brutal upward block. Clang, their weapons smashed together with terrifying power, instantly exploding into jagged shards of metal. But the fight didn't stop there. Tossing their broken hilts aside, the two absolute units seamlessly transitioned straight into brutal hand-to-hand combat. Locking fingers in a vicious test of pure muscle, they shoved against each other like enraged bulls. Feeling the insane grip strength, Galfredrick's eyes widened in surprise. The kid might be young, but he's packed with power. "And bro is dead set on taking me down," he chuckled inwardly. "Alright, I'll admit, your raw strength is off the charts," Galfredrick noted, suddenly flexing his massive bulging biceps. With a sudden explosive yank, he ripped Eugene forward, throwing off his center of gravity. "But my battle IQ heavily outclasses yours." Caught completely off guard, Eugene stumbled headfirst toward the ground, making the massive crowd gasp in absolute horror. A predatory grin spread across Galfredrick's face as he loaded up a devastating punch. But right in that split-second time, practically froze for Eugene. Smashing one palm against the dirt to catch his fall, Eugene launched himself back up just as Galfredrick lunged in, fully expecting to land a clean knockout hook. But Eugene completely flipped the script. He aggressively yanked Galfredrick's extended arm, wrecking the giant's balance as a massive counterpunch sailed toward his face. Watching the fist close in, Galfredrick realized this kid wasn't using textbook martial arts. Either his combat adaptability was terrifyingly fast, or his raw, unhinged survival instincts simply took over the moment danger flashed before his eyes. Staring down the barrel of that incoming knuckle sandwich, Galfredrick couldn't help but crack a hyped, adrenaline-fueled smile. Seriously, where the hell did this monster kid come from, he thought, right as Eugene's fist connected with explosive, bone-crushing force. Bam! The sheer impact launched Galfredrick through the air like a ragdoll. The crowd screamed and scattered like bugs as his massive body slammed violently into the arena boundary, obliterating the solid stone wall into a cloud of dusty debris. The veteran warrior slumped onto his back, totally knocked out cold with a bruised jaw, and his eyes rolled completely white. The entire Colosseum fell into dead silence. The spectators were absolutely dumbfounded by the referee. The winner is Eugene. Hearing his name, the young warrior finally let out a heavy, exhausted sigh of relief. Knight Eugene. The stunned onlookers suddenly snapped back to reality, losing their minds as they swarmed the arena. Bro, what just happened? That kid is an absolute menace, someone screamed. Oigana Oigana. It's kind of a weird name, but let's go. Robin puffed out his chest, flexing his ultimate fanboy energy. Ha ha ha. Did you lose? That absolute legend is our knight. Partek standing right next to him just side-eyed the boy. Bro is already claiming him like they're besties. Meanwhile, across the wrecked arena, the seemingly dead Galfredrick twitched. The blank white of his eyes faded as focus snapped back into his pupils. The beast was awake. He slowly rose from the rubble and started stomping toward Eugene. Towering over the boy like a literal raid boss, his massive shadow completely swallowed the young knight whole. Eugene flinched, bracing for a sneak attack. But instead, the giant snatched his wrist and hoisted it high into the air. Give it up for our champion. Grinning from ear to ear, Galfredrick hyped up the audience, demanding they scream the victor's name. Eugene stood there totally baffled by the sudden sportsmanship. The crowd went absolutely feral, aggressively chanting Eugene's name. Up in the VIP balcony, Lord Kamara glared down at the celebration, grinding his teeth in pure, unfiltered rage. Cut to a few hours later, a massive royal-level feast was spread across a grand dining table. A whole squad of maids and butlers hovered nearby, with overly sweet, creepy smiles making Eugene cringe hard. This is a direct gift from Lord Kamara. To celebrate the unlocking of the prison gates, the head butler purred smoothly. Please feast and recover your strength. I shall personally spoon-feed you, Sir Eugene. Another maid chimed in, practically bowing. Is the lighting in here okay, my lord? I went ahead and closed the heavy drapes, knowing you might have a headache from the bright sun. A third servant popped up holding an insanely expensive decanter. If you drop your flavor profile, I have some top-tier vintage wines ready to pour. Little Miriam, chilling right on top of Eugene's head, was trying so hard not to completely lose it. She snickered quietly, absolutely loving the incredibly awkward VIP treatment. Since she was a vampire, human food was basically useless to her, but she kept playing along. Geez, mister, aren't you gonna blow up like a balloon if you shove all that in your face? Eugene sighed heavily, looking utterly done with the fake hospitality. Look, I appreciate the hype, but no thanks. From here on out, I'm feeding my own damn self. Everyone clear the room. The snooty butler opened his mouth to argue, but immediately shut it as Eugene shot him a deadly cold-blooded glare, a silent warning meant directly for Kamara's ears. I prefer rolling solo, you hissed, locking eyes with Lord Kamara, your deadly glare screaming, back off, got it. After ghosting everyone for over a decade deep in the mountains, that one fateful night completely flipped the script. Now everyone looks at you like you're an absolute legend. Strolling through the halls, Eugene was quickly ambushed by Kamara, who practically oozed fake charm. Well, if it isn't our legendary knight, catch some good sleep last night, Eugene, he pressed. You just shrugged it off deadpan. I guess it wasn't terrible. Kamara tilted his head, genuinely confused why you'd reject all the VIP luxuries he hooked you up with. Meanwhile, Partek flashed a sly grin as a guy named Rabin hit a deep, respectful bow. My Lord Eugene. Wait, Lord Eugene. Did you just cough? You smirked internally. Asterisk. Humph. This mysterious loner vibe fits me perfectly. Asterisk. But that piece shattered. He shoved everyone out of the way, aggressively slung an arm around your shoulder and hollered. Come on, Eugene, aren't we brothers in arms? Eugene brutally iced him out. Gal Frederick, get off me. Unfazed by the rejection, the loudmouth just asked if you managed to get any rest. Man, my face is still on fire from the absolute beatdown you handed me last night, Gal chuckled, proudly tapping the massive purple bruise on his cheek. He leaned in, gesturing wildly. Look at this busted face. You just stared blankly, thinking times, seriously, are you begging for round 2 asterisk? Bouncing on his heels, he pressed on. Got 0 plans today, right? The weather's totally perfect. Let's throw down in the sparring ring. Rabin instantly hyped up, shouting, Oh, I am totally getting front row seats for this. Eugene just sighed internally. Asterisk, Gal Frederick clearly. Asterisk. Asterisk. Could not care less about my fancy knight title. Asterisk. It was obvious that all the haters, even though you finally secured the respect you wanted, the constant mob of fanboys felt totally suffocating. You locked eyes with Gal Frederick and deadpanned, you really want me to wreck you again. He just barked out a laugh. Hey, you never know until we trade punches. Suddenly, heavy dragging footsteps echoed through the hall. Field stumbled into view, absolutely dripping in fresh wounds. He rasped out a greeting, freezing the entire crowd as all eyes darted straight to you. "How have things been holding up?" Field gasped out. Suddenly the scene flashed back to a dead silent moonlit night. A blood-curdling shriek violently ripped through the total silence. "Ah, I'm sorry, my lord, please don't kill me." The terrifying shadow of Master Bertel stretched across the wall, clutching a heavy staff. Another agonizing wail echoed as the monstrous shadow reared back. "Ugh," Bertel sneered, glaring down in absolute disgust at the pathetic figure crumpled on the floor. "If you hadn't completely botched this mission, we wouldn't be in this massive mess." Bertel spat, his voice pure ice. "If you had just wiped that village rat off the map from day one, this cursed red-eyed knight would have never crashed Rose Castle." His eyes burned with psychotic rage as he roared. "You utterly trashed my master plan." Down on his bleeding knees, Philip sobbed. "Master, I swear I'm so sorry. I hired top-tier mercenaries. They always get the job done flawlessly." Bertel scoffed, clicking his tongue in pure contempt. "Just a squad of useless trash. Trashed and eaten alive by a pack of black wolves. Those frauds took my gold but couldn't even survive some wild mutts." He aggressively grabbed Philip by the jaw, forcing him to look up. "Are your freaking eyes just painted on pressing a gleaming blade right against Philip's skin?" Bertel was totally unhinged, holding absolutely nothing back. He pressed the lethal threat, pushing the trembling man into pure panic mode. "I'll slice you open right here, right now." Everyone standing nearby drained of color, paralyzed by the horrific, desperate screams bouncing off the walls. Tossing the blade aside, Bertel paused to scheme. Asterisk T. How do I clean up this massive disaster? He couldn't just execute the guy in cold blood right in the middle of the city. Suddenly, a twisted light bulb went off in his head. "Oh, I know exactly what to do. I've got the perfect play." He slowly looked up toward the pale moonlight filtering through the high window, casting shadows over Field's beaten body. "Oh yes, this is my only out, and it's practically a free ticket to make him disappear forever." Snapping back from the brutal flashback to the present moment, you crossed your arms, exuding lethal calm. "Rumor has it Lord Bertel commanded you to rot down in that dungeon." Leaning back against the freezing stone wall, you locked eyes with him. "My gut screams this is a trap. What's your take on it?" Slumped on a wooden chair, Philip choked out. "I'm literally just the sacrificial lamb here. So you're just gonna let them butcher you down in that cell?" He completely froze, dropping into total silence as Eugene's heavy words sank in. "Think back to those elite mercs who got totally shredded by that black wolf pack on the village road. Those rogue hitmen were 100% dispatched by your twisted higher-ups." Eugene shot him a piercing, deadly glare. "Feel it. They never actually planned for you to step foot inside this castle alive." Then he dropped a massive bombshell that left the broken man utterly gasping for air. "You still have one shot to survive this." He paused, his voice turning ice cold. "Become my thrall." He whipped around his jaw, practically hitting the floor. "You're already 16. You crushed the coming-of-age trials, so you don't need a babysitter's blessing anymore. You carve your own destiny now," he pressed on. "Are you just going to bolt and wait for some random to end your life? Or are you going to brawl until your lungs give out?" Fast forward to the day the forest gate unsealed, the massive crowd gathered at the colossal entrance. Naturally, nobody had a clue what nightmare fuel would spawn. Gal Frederick barked out a quick threat assessment to the squad. Bottom-tier trash mob goblins. Mid-tier massive spider hounds. Top-tier bosses are completely wildcards. Our ultimate mission is carving a bloody highway straight to the next mob zone. If an elite boss drops, we dip instantly. Are we crystal clear? The entire platoon roared their agreement. "Sir, yes sir," he then barked the marching orders. "First up, sweep the perimeter for any hidden mob spawns." One grunt exhaled a massive breath. "Thank God it's just goblin fodder. Think it's gonna be a bloodbath?" A second guy folded his arms, smirking. "Honestly, I'm faking a twisted ankle and ghosting the squad the second we wipe the low tiers." His buddy blinked, totally stunned. "Wait, for real? You can literally do that," the slacker leaned in. "Bro, listen. This is our rookie raid. It's an absolute slaughterhouse out there and nobody gives a damn about the backline. We could literally become cannon fodder, just trying to snatch some leftover loot." While running their mouths, they accidentally slammed right into a heavy figure. "If it goes south, we dip." He was fully ready to drop some heavy curses on the guy they bumped, but the words died in his throat. Bertel shot them a death glare, demanding to know if Field was lurking around. The grunt's face instantly went pale, flashing a fake, overly polite smile as he aggressively bowed. "Ooh, Lord Bertlefield. What the hell are you babbling about?" Bertel's eyes scanned the chaotic crowd. "I'm asking where that little Ratfield is hiding. I swear on my life I stationed his worthless hide right here." The soldier shakily pointed a finger. "Oh, do you mean that kid way over there in the distance field was happily chatting up a storm with Eugene? Lord Eugene, I packed you some combat rations. Please make it back in one piece." Eugene gave a soft grunt of acknowledgement. Bertel forcefully shoved the poor soldier into the dirt and stormed straight toward the duo. "These Lao La Kong family losers always scatter like panicked roaches," he muttered, closing the distance and barking out. "Why the hell are you stalling, Field?" The kid nearly jumped out of his skin. Bertel glared down with absolute freezing contempt. "Did you get amnesia and forget my absolute orders? Strap on your gear and march back to your post right freaking now." Panic struck Field's face. He scrambled backward, instinctively using Eugene as a human shield. That cowardly move made Bertel's blood boil even hotter. "Is this brat completely deaf?" Eugene barely shifted his gaze as Bertel violently lunged forward, trying to snatch Field's arm. "I said get back to your damn post." But before he could rip the kid away, Eugene clamped a vice-like grip onto Bertel's wrist, forcing him to drop Field. "Back off." Bertel's forehead veins practically exploded at the sheer disrespect. "You've got some nerve," Eugene fired back, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Sending a rookie who's only ever gripped a kitchen knife straight into a slaughter zone dungeon. Are you actually insane?" Eugene violently flung Bertel's arm away like it was toxic waste. "Watch your mouth, I'm just putting the kid through the grinder, so he actually gets strong." Bertel menacingly stepped into Eugene's personal space. "Check your ego. You have absolutely zero authority to lay a finger on him." Eugene's eyes turned to ice. "You're the one who needs a reality check." Eugene didn't back down an inch. "Before you tried to drag him off, you should have known. This kid became my sworn thrall yesterday. Every single person here saw it go down." Bertel's face flashed with pure shock, while Gal Frederick snapped his head to look at Eugene. "This is a literal blood pact. If you even breathe in his direction, it's a direct declaration of war against me." Eugene aggressively closed the gap between them. The sharp ring of steel echoed as Eugene popped his sword halfway out of the scabbard. Want to run a quick fade before we hit the dungeon?" Bertel completely lost it. "How the hell dare you go rogue like this?" he roared. "You really think claiming a worthless stray from a rival bloodline is just a walk in the park?" This was a massive roadblock to his glow-up. As he stewed in frustration, the murmurs of the platoon caught his ear. "Hey, don't stress. These aren't those plastic wannabe knights we dealt with last time. We're rolling with elite commanders who actually pack a punch. Dude, did you catch that sparring match between Lord Eugene and Lord Galfredick last week? Absolute cinema. Pure, top-tier combat." Bertel shot them a venomous glare, his fists clenched, as he agonized over how many years it would take to reach that god-tier status. "I'd literally need to reincarnate to hit those stats," he muttered bitterly. His thoughts were derailed when Kamara materialized out of nowhere, slapping a heavy hand onto his shoulder. "If Lord Eugene is leading the charge, I can totally trust him to keep my kid brother breathing." Kamara smirked, throwing a side-eye toward the boy. After all, he's 16 now, basically a full-grown man. Time for him to lock in and forge his own destiny. Bertel just seethed, too salty to even drop a reply. Eugene cast a cold glance their way, his inner monologue ruthless. "Field is nothing but fresh meat. In this world, the second you show weakness, you become an all-you-can-eat buffet. Even if you hold your breath and hide, survival is zero. The hunters will sniff you out and tear you apart." He scowled, his jaw locking in grim realization. If you can't solo level your way to the top, you better find a squad to carry you. Kamara flashed a warm grin, stepping up to give Field an encouraging thump on the shoulder. "Come on, kid, let me give you a quick tour of the archives." "Wait, you actually know how to read? Bro, that's literally the ultimate survival hack for the weak." Suddenly, a scout rushed up to brief them. "No trace of Domer. It looks like zero monsters have breached the dungeon's perimeter. We are clear to breach the dungeon gates." Galfredick let out a booming laugh, enthusiastically slamming his shoulder into Eugene's. "Bet, let's get this party started." The massive iron gates groaned open before the vanguard, exposing the suffocating pitch-black maw of the dungeon. Galfredick tossed a deadly serious glare over his shoulder, barking out his final warning. "You better watch your own backs in there, survive or become monster chow." Trailing behind a wall of glinting steel and heavy armor, Galfredick spearheaded the raid party straight into the abyss. Back at the surface, Field and Kamara waved them off, shouting a promise to see them safely return in exactly 4 days. Lord Eugene, stay frosty on the perimeter. The towering doors slowly slammed shut, sealing them inside. May the gods have mercy on their souls. Hours later, deep within the suffocating damp, pitch-black cavern, blood-curdling screams shattered the silence. A soldier hit the dirt, a crimson geyser erupting into the shadows. Ravenous beasts ambushed from every blind spot, shredding the front line to absolute ribbons. The swarm was massive, their raw power completely breaking the squad's defense. Bodies dropped like flies, while the surviving rookies shrieked in pure terror. Somebody please help me. Out of the absolute abyss, a blinding arc of silver slashed through the dark, instantly bisecting a grotesque monster in half. The brutal strike snatched the screaming soldier from the jaws of death. The kid was hyperventilating, completely Holy. I'm still breathing, Galfredic roared, totally unhinged. You brain-dead rookie. You basically begged to get clapped out there. His rugged face was absolutely painted in monster gore. Barking orders to lock the shield wall, he violently gestured at the scattered squad. Get your asses back in formation, right freaking now. The panicked troops frantically scrambled to reform their broken lines. Hell yeah, archers, light 'em up. Galfredic bellowed at the ranged unit. The core marksmen locked down the cavern bottleneck, unleashing a devastating storm of arrows with lethal pinpoint accuracy. The volley pinned the beasts, but the monstrous horde blindly kept throwing themselves into the meat grinder. Gan screamed over the chaos, hold the line, do not let them break the front. Fueled by Galfredic's savage leadership, the raid squad slowly snatched back the momentum. Mutilated goblin carcasses began piling up in grotesque mountains. One completely traumatized recruit stared down at the carnage. Man, I freaking knew it. His stomach violently churned at the sight of the butchered goblins. He knew from day one that volunteering for a dungeon crawl was basically a suicide mission. His fight or flight snapped. He bolted in a blind panic. I gotta ditch this place now. He sprinted like a madman, constantly checking his six. But he was too blind with fear to notice a fresh squad of goblins cutting off his escape route. He stubbornly kept pushing toward the exit, sealing his own trap. He tripped over his own feet, in sheer terror, bracing for death, until a massive broadsword came flying out of nowhere, obliterating the monsters. The commander unleashed a furious roar. You absolute moron. Did you seriously think you could just sneak back to the entrance without pulling aggro? The deserter froze, shivering like a leaf in a hurricane. Galfredic violently yanked the kid up by his collar, screaming spit right into his face. Wake the hell up. Sticking with the vanguard is literally the only way you survive this. He ruthlessly tossed the boy aside, ripping his sword from the dirt and bracing for the next wave. The trembling rookie scrambled to draw his blade, desperately trying to lock in. Just up ahead, Galfredic's elite vanguard was still locked in an absolute bloodbath against the endless goblin horde. Watching the brutal slaughter unfold on both flanks, Galfredic swiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He couldn't believe it. Were these last-minute mercenary pickups seriously this utterly useless? Dragging this pathetic squad into a dungeon was basically a guaranteed death sentence. But before he could even process the disaster, a panicked shout ripped through the air. The horde was swarming them again. And worse, another scout screamed that their backline was getting totally ambushed. Alfred barked, damn it, pivot to a double-flank defense right now. Then Eugene smoothly stepped toward the rear. I'll take care of this, Eugene stated flatly. Galfredic scrambled to block his path. Hold on, Lord Eugene. You can't solo this. It's suicide. But the kid was already gone. In a literal flash, Eugene vanished into thin air, leaving Galfredic staring blankly at the dirt. Erupting out of nowhere, Eugene morphed into a blur of lightning-fast tornadoes tearing straight into the enemy mob. His mask clattered to the ground. Snapping back to reality, Galfredic sprinted right after him. Bartek Onma 6. Locked down the back line. With Galfredic spearheading the charge, a strike team shoved their way deeper into the cavern. Holy crap, he cleared that distance in a heartbeat, he muttered. Suddenly, Galfredic's jaw dropped as a brilliant azure glow radiated from a flower Eugene casually held. I cleared out the trash at the intersection. Is this random weed I grabbed worth anything? Eugene asked casually. Galfredic stood there, heavily gasping for air. He instantly recognized it as a basic glowing herb, but his brain was completely short-circuiting over Eugene's absurdly overpowered stats. Seriously, how did this guy possess such a god-tier level of strength? Unbothered, Eugene just stared at the crushed plant in his palm. Ah, man, it already died. Meanwhile, the bloody clash wrapped up. The battered troops were dragged off to the medics. The entire cavern was an absolute chaotic bloodbath. God, I'm fading. Somebody help me. I'm bleeding out, a guy shrieked. Cutting through the panic, a scout reported in my lord. We've scraped together all the leftover mana crystals. Eugene gestured smoothly. Hand them over. A handful of softly glowing gems sat bundled in a dirty rag. After wiping out that entire massive hoard, this pathetic stash was all they got. Clearly underwhelmed, Eugene ordered the squad to take a breather. Staring intently at the crystal, he realized something unlike the wild variants he'd seen. This specific rock pulsed with an eerie blue aura. Right on cue, Miriam floated into view. What a letdown. Next to the high-tier stuff, this is basically a pebble, the spirit sighed. Crystal quality always matches the beast's raw power. Eugene tilted his head. So are the wild ones naturally chunkier. The water spirit shook her head. When dungeon creeps go feral, they turn into roamers. But that doesn't automatically bump up their crystal size. Remember that ugly mutant fish you consumed earlier? It was massive and stacked with power, right? Well, elite roamers like that are practically 1 in a million. That specific alpha had hijacked Miriam's entire turf. Eugene's eyes narrowed as flashbacks of that brutal fight hit him. He finally clicked that snagging that roamer's crimson crystal had been an insane stroke of luck. Miriam dramatically grabbed her head. Busting her spectral chops in these dungeons just to hype up some snobby royals was completely pointless. But then a thought struck her. Wait, do you think they're hiding any heavy-hitting boss monsters in here? Boom. A deafening crash echoed through the cavern, freezing the entire squad dead in their tracks. Galfredic whipped around his face grim. Are you kidding me? We barely caught our breath. Break time is over, boys. Fix the damn defensive line. Your positioning is absolute garbage right now, he barked furiously. You pathetic, weak, useless scrubs. Lord Eugene and I are taking the front line. You trail us, and if any of you cowards break rank, I'll personally end you later. Listening to this aggressive pep talk, Eugene mentally sweat dropped. Bro, this is literally my first time setting foot in a dungeon and you're throwing me in the vanguard. Completely oblivious to Eugene's internal panic, Galfredic leaned in. He bluntly pointed out that these hired swords were going to be total dead weight. Lord Eugene, we need to completely restructure the vanguard, he insisted heavily, slinging a buddy-buddy arm around the young noble's shoulder. He warned with a grin that the mobs waiting in the shadows ahead were going to completely dwarf the trash they just slaughtered. His blood was absolutely pumping. Those goblins, they were just low-level gatekeepers for the true horrors ruling this domain. That means we're walking straight into mid-tier nightmares at the very least. Once we chop them down, you better believe the high-level elites are lurking right at the pitch-black core of this hellhole. Hearing Galfredic hype up their impending doom, the terrified soldiers in the back practically wet their armor. Eugene soaked in every syllable Galfredic dropped. His mind flashed back to that exact moment he absorbed the Roamer Swamp Lord's glowing crimson mana stone. That single crystal had unlocked an absolutely god-tier ability. Eugene balled his fist, a burning curiosity, creeping in, would claiming another gem. Gift him a completely new perk. The dead silence shattered as over 50 heavy footsteps echoed through the shadows roughly 100 meters out. Even worse, 3 absolute units trailed right behind the pack. Galfredic instantly cracked a wicked grin. He was completely hooked on what Eugene had just pitched. Oh yeah, Galfredic made it crystal clear he wanted a piece of the action himself. Eugene didn't say a word. His eyes locked onto the prey as he channeled every ounce of his aura, unleashing a wildly devastating shockwave. The sheer pressure leveled the terrain entirely. His ultimate zeroed in on a massive goblin, officially kicking off the absolute chaos. Galfredic and his squad rushed the front lines to capitalize on the momentum. The whole platoon swarmed in. Galfredic barked at Partek to stick to him like glue and watch his 6. Got it, boss. Up ahead, Eugene was straight up soloing 2 massive goblin elites. He effortlessly dismantled one of their limbs. The squad in the back screamed, "My lord, we're coming in for backup." Eugene didn't even flinch. He vaulted right to the monster's eye level and delivered a ruthless max power strike directly to its face. A violent burst of crimson painted the air. The beast shrieked in pure agony, desperately clutching its ruined vision as the dark liquid kept pouring. Catching the perfect window, Eugene launched himself again, completely shredding the creature's grasping digits. Then he brought down the hammer with everything he had. A literal waterfall of crimson flooded out. Eugene just licked his lips, totally vibing with the chaos. Soaked in that dark red, he looked like an absolute menace. The grunts down below were totally paralyzed by the insane display. Their lifelong textbook image of an honorable knight was forever altered. Without missing a beat, Eugene wound up for another massive swing. His sheer kinetic force shattered the monster's crown, caving it right in. With one brutal yank, Eugene forcefully separated the beast from its shoulders. Forget high-tier swordplay, righteous energy, or some composed royal vibe. The reality was just raw, savage dismantling. The entire zone was washed in deep crimson. Eugene literally looked like a demon straight out of the abyss, totally wrecking what the squad thought they knew. This was the complete opposite of that shiny, idealized hero trope. Meanwhile, Eugene was just standing there, utterly fascinated by his own destructive masterpiece. He had fully tapped into the aura of an untamed apex predator. All three megabosses had been zeroed. The platoon finally caught their breath after the sweaty skirmish, while Galfredik silently scanned the aftermath. A veteran grunt gritted his teeth, tanking the pain of a fresh gash. The battlefield was completely littered with the fallen from both sides. Galfredik zoned out in deep thought. That massive boss fight had literally drained the entire squad's HP bars to zero. It was insane how fast they hit rock-bottom stamina. But Galfredik figured it wasn't just physical fatigue, it was the pure mental shock of what they had just spectated. Everyone's morale was absolutely in the gutter. That terrifying, unhinged visual of Eugene literally unaliving the beast on loop was living rent-free in their heads. It was a borderline traumatic-rated cinematic masterpiece. Galfredik seriously debated calling it quits. Pushing further felt like a massive risk. He glanced up at Eugene, who was just chilling, and finally spoke up. "Are we calling it a day or packing it up?" Eugene sighed, sounding genuinely bummed out. "Honestly, my stamina bar is still maxed out. Who knows when I'll get to farm a zone like this again? Bailing now would be a massive waste of epic loot. If anyone wants to drop out and hit the lobby, feel free to head back." Hearing that drop, Galfredik's entire mood instantly flipped to hyped. "Say less. We're riding with you." Eugene vaulted down from his perch and pitched a new strat. Galfredik should escort the low HP grunts out of the raid first. Caught off guard, Galfredik quickly nodded, agreeing that only he and his elite mercs had the stats to push into the deeper zones. Suddenly, a shaky voice broke the silence. Rabin practically sprinted over, begging, "Yo, please let me tag along." Galfredik immediately side-eyed him. "Wait. Did Eugene actually clock the squad's burnout and pull a total soft guy move?" The veteran mercs standing behind Galfredik let out a massive collective sigh of relief. They totally thought they were about to get death-marched. Honestly, Galfredik just exhaled heavily. Underneath that terrifying edgelord aesthetic was an actually decent guy, checking in on the low levels. His respect for Sir Eugene skyrocketed. This absolute prodigy was making him rewrite the entire definition of a true knight. Without missing a beat, Eugene, Rabin, and Partek pushed deeper into the pitch-black abyss. Creeping right beneath a claustrophobic ceiling of jagged stalactites, Rabin was literally trembling, white-knuckling the only torch they had. "Bro, screw this. I absolutely do not want to be here. So why the hell did I get dragged into this? I'm straight up terrified." He desperately tried to cope by replaying the footage in his head how Eugene had literally solo-wiped those mutant goblins. If things went sideways, at least they had a human cheat code on their side. Before he could turn the tide, Rabin's boot squashed something beneath his heel, paralyzing him in his tracks. Eugene casually glanced down slowly, lifting his own foot. Stuck to his sole was the mangled corpse of an arachnid oozing neon green slime. Up above, the dungeon ceiling was practically alive. Hundreds of creepy crawlers spilled from the cracks, rappelling downward on thick threads of silk. These pests were pure nightmare fuel. They flexed massive, razor-sharp pincers boasting jagged fangs and crimson bloodshot eyes swallowed up nearly half of their hideous faces. Their armored shells were jagged and vile. This specific cave swarm was notoriously brutal, packing highly corrosive acid, designed to melt their victims into liquid mush. Rabin let out a blood-curdling shriek as the horde closed in. Partek instantly screamed to pull back. Panicking that they were completely outnumbered, he begged to fall back for now. Eugene just tilted his head. Retreat, he didn't waste another breath. He launched himself right into the chaos, his blade, a deadly blur, as he carved through the swarm, clearing a massive path through the gore. He was practically yawning through the slaughter, treating this deadly threat like a total joke. Partek frantically barked at Rabin to back him up right now, but Robin was already caught in a desperate brawl against a pack of highly toxic creepers. He shrieked in absolute panic. The crazy guy had already dived headfirst into the meat grinder. Partek violently swung his weapon, refusing to let up for even a second. The trio pushed back hard, slicing through the venomous wave, but suddenly Rabin's legs gave out, and he hit the dirt. A sea of hairy legs swarmed him instantly, pinning him down. A massive, horrifying beast hissed, launching its venomous fangs straight for his throat. Rabin scrambled backward, his eyes wide with pure, unfiltered. His vocal cords totally froze. This was game over. But right as death knocked, a shadow blurred past him just in the nick of time. Rabin violently flinched, squeezing his eyes shut before slowly peeking open to see his savior. Holy crap, you saved me, Eugene barely noticed, tearing through the horde like an absolute machine. Rabin violently gasped for air. Freshly dragged from the jaws of death, he scanned the bloodbath in pure shock. Monster carcasses completely carpeted the ground, stacked into literal mountains of gore. With a sickening crunch, Eugene completely obliterated another freak. Rabin shakily scrambled back to his boots. Good grief. Is this guy secretly a monster himself? He muttered in pure awe. He's literally unkillable. You've practically wiped out the whole cave. So, we can totally dip now, right? Robin snapped his head toward Partek, pleading for backup. You're with me on this, Captain. Absolute silence. Partek didn't utter a single syllable, and a sickening knot twisted in Rabin's stomach. Captain Rabin followed his gaze downward. Partek's knees were knocking violently, the color completely drained from his terrified face. How the hell is something like this down here? Even within the exact same species, there's a strict power hierarchy, but crossing paths with a boss-level threat like this. It's absurdly rare. No raiding party in their right mind packs gear for an absolute apocalypse like this. Partek's mind was completely spiraling into sheer pain. Its colossal, freakish size instantly gave away its status as the dungeon's apex predator. Looming above them, a massive scythe-like claw pierced the darkness. The Spider Queen had arrived. This titanic, stomach-churning monstrosity lowered itself, dripping venom from its machete-like fangs. Its jaws snapped wide open, rolling out a grotesque, slithering tongue. The beast hissed with pure rage, coiling its massive frame for a lethal strike. Partek screamed at the top of his lungs, "Run, get out of here, Lord Eugene. We are absolute dead weight against a monster of this tier. For the love of God, just stall until Lord Gal Frederick can back us up." Eugene locked eyes with them, his voice dead serious. Partek, Rabin. His piercing glare sent shivers down their spines. Both of you fall back. This prey belongs to me. Partek instantly lowered his head. Understood. He obeyed, his heart practically hammering out of his chest in pure panic. It was a terrifying wave of absolute powerlessness. Every single survival instinct in his brain was screaming at him to bolt. Without another second of hesitation, he and Rabin sprinted for their lives, leaving Eugene standing completely solo, staring down the colossal nightmare. A tiny water spirit popped into existence, wearing a smug little smirk. Poor kids. Their survival instincts couldn't handle the massive power gap between them and my master. Huh. Eugene casually glanced over. Hey, Miriam. You think this ugly bug is tougher than the swamp? Miriam nodded eagerly. Oh, totally. She might even pack an even bigger punch than that muddy giant. Eugene just smirked, entirely unfazed. Perfect. That means the loot drop is going to be massive. Right across from him, the oblivious Spider Queen shrieked, totally clueless about the absolute beatdown she was about to receive. Our hero just stared her down with ice in his veins. Go ahead. Throw your best tantrum. The tougher the monster's treasure vault is to crack, the richer the payload inside. The camera perfectly pans away, catching a tiny spiderlet, quietly rappelling down its silk thread into the pitch-black darkness. Suddenly, an unseen force slashed right through the beast, brutally severing its legs and sending them flying across the room. Eugene didn't even flinch. His expression stayed ice-cold as he simply snapped his fingers, watching the monstrous creature crumble to dust, a completely off-screen boss battle. Since the creator totally skipped drawing that epic fight sequence, Eugene just stood there flexing the second brand new skill he had unlocked from the Dungeon Lord's core. By fusing his illusion magic with his raw physical buffs, he forged an insane defense mechanism that practically made his body bulletproof. Plus, combining that camouflage ability let him perfectly mimic a human form, meaning he could finally walk around in broad daylight without getting roasted. Skipping the whole vampire routine was a massive win. Suddenly, a sweet voice completely derailed his thoughts. "Wait, are you ditching the mask now?" she asked. Normally, fangirls practically mobbed him, forcing him to cover up his god-tier visuals just to get some peace. Gatekeeping, a face like that, is basically a crime, the crowd of girls babbled, absolutely losing their minds over him. "Mr. Knight, drop the lore on your latest dungeon run," they begged, completely crowding into his personal space. "Rumor has it, you totally soloed that massive arachnid boss." Eugene froze up, cringing internally at the massive spotlight. A tiny water spirit popped up right over his head, cackling like an absolute menace. "Haha, boss, you are insanely overpowered," it trolled. "Spill the tea on your legendary feats," one girl gushed, her face glowing beet red. "You literally look majestic. Are you seriously rocking some high elf DNA?" Eugene mentally facepalmed. An elf. Seriously, honestly, these people were just obsessed with the whole royal aesthetic. This attention is way more annoying than a flex, he muttered. Suddenly, the chaotic background noise behind Gelfredick completely cut off. It all makes sense now, the guy shouted at the top of his lungs, making the entire room jump and snap their heads in his direction. He launched into hyped-up storytelling mode, claiming that the second they breached the dungeon, Eugene's eyes were literally glowing like high beams. He had hearing like a radar, godlike reflexes, and chucked spears with zero chill. I knew immediately he wasn't just some basic non-player character. Gelfredick was totally hyped up, gripping his compass tightly in one hand, and hoisting a massive pint of beer in the other as he strutted right over to the fangirls. Who could have guessed he was carrying elven blood? Gelfredick leaned in close. But let's be real, with visuals like that, keeping a low profile is literally impossible. How did you manage to stay off the radar for this long? Annoyance spiked through Eugene. The guy was way too sharp. Leaning his chin into his palm, Eugene fired back with fake casualness. I mean, I never actually tried to go off-grid. Just the way he posed had the whole table malfunctioning. Even Rabin got ridiculously flustered while the girls completely melted down. Oh my gosh, they squealed. Gelfredick just covered his mouth, hitting him with a deadpan stare. Real smooth, buddy. Eugene let out a heavy sigh. Did these people seriously just blurt out whatever delusional thoughts crossed their minds? Whatever. From here on out, if anyone started digging into his stats, he would just pin it on some fake elf genetics. Flashback to the boss raid. Eugene absolutely demolished the Spider Queen and bagged her rare core, but this loot drop was different. It didn't just buff his stats. It literally glitched out his cursed tattoo. The dark ink marking his eye instantly dissolved into thin air. That deletion triggered a massive brain blast. Hidden files of memories he had never experienced before crashed into his mind. Suddenly, he was standing in a completely alien room. He looked totally different from his current avatar. A gentle hand was tightly gripping his. Out of nowhere, an eerie bell echoed through the bizarre void, and every single eye in the room was locked dead onto him. Eugene snapped back, his pulse racing. Who the heck was that girl? But an even darker question immediately hit him, sending chills down his spine. Was that even his own lore? He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to grasp the corrupted files of his past. The only absolute truth he possessed was a phantom voice, crying out for him, Lord Eugene, please, you have to save me. That desperate scream completely yanked him out of his headspace. He blinked, snapping back to reality, only to see Gelfredick right next to him while someone kept screeching, please save me. Actually, Gelfredick was currently choking the absolute life out of Rabin, leaving the poor guy gasping for air. You absolute bot. I caught every single word of that trash talk. Claiming I am just dead weight to the boss, Rabin pathetically grabbed at his attacker's sleeve, panicking to defend himself. Bro, it is because our leader literally has inhuman stats. Any regular guy would have rage quit instantly, but Gelfredick wasn't having it, ruthlessly roasting Rabin into the ground. Oh, so now you are calling the boss a straight-up monster. I am about to show you what an actual game over looks like. Ignoring their chaotic brawl, Eugene slipped back into deep thought. Literally, the only data he retained was his player tag, Eugene. But this sudden patch update gave him a massive clue. If he kept clearing bosses and deleting these cursed marks one by one, he might actually unlock his original origin story. Not this fake holy knight or elven royalty nonsense, but his absolute true form. Eugene's eyes slightly wavered, vibrating with a new intense focus. His thoughts trailed off as the camera panned across the gloomy room, revealing a grim crowd huddled around a sickbed. Gelfredick and Eugene stood at attention. Gelfredick dropped into a deep, respectful bow. It is an absolute honor to finally meet you, Lord Tywin. I am Krema, the third son of Gengetic. Catching the vibe, Eugene mirrored his flawless etiquette and bowed just as deeply. And I am Yen, the eldest son of the Eugene bloodline. The frail lord offered a weak but approving nod. You boys have clearly been grinding. With a trembling hand, he signaled a servant to bring forward a silver tray, hand it to him. Resting perfectly in the center was a tightly rolled, wax-sealed scroll. Word on the street is Lord Eugene needs some solid paperwork to back up his identity. I am not sure if this seals the deal, but this should be the ultimate flex to prove exactly who you are, Yen of the Eugene family. Eugene gently grasped the fragile parchment, handling it like pure gold. I owe you everything, my lord. Suddenly, the frail old man let out a strained, fierce cry. Kamara bolted to Tywin's bedside in a total panic. Peeling open his exhausted, sunken eyes, the lord rasped Kamara. Thanks to that kid's reckless ambition, my youngest son will never find peace. Kamara softly stroked his arm, desperately trying to calm him. Please do not stress over this now. Father, I promise to step up and protect the empire you sweat blood to build. He firmly clasped his hands over Tywin's shaking fingers. Tywin locked eyes with him, his voice cracking. My precious boy. That territory is nothing but a mountain of worthless black ash. Never forget. A real boss knows how to guide his people, not just flex control over some dirt. The room fell dead, silent, soaking in the heavy vibes. As those legendary final words echoed through the silent room, all the tension drained from Tywin's body. His hands slammed lifelessly against the sheets. He is gone. The entire room completely broke down, openly sobbing over the loss of their leader. Eugene watched quietly. He did not know the full lore behind Tywin's reign, but seeing this crowd absolutely devastated proved the man had serious clout. But grief was not the only vibe in the air. Lurking outside the door, Bertel chewed his lip until it bled, his face twisted in absolute unfiltered rage. Pitch-black storm clouds rolled in, swallowing the sun like a massive red flag for the chaos about to drop. Amidst the gloom, Galfredick packed his gear to bounce. Man, I hate dipping out right in the middle of the Lord's funeral. Kamara gave him a totally understanding nod. No sweat, I know you have got moves to make. Galfredick then spun around, giving Eugene a shocked double take. Hold up, Lord Eugene. Are you seriously sticking around this ghost town? Eugene's expression was locked in his decision final. I am diving back into that dungeon. We cracked that thing wide open, it would be a massive waste to just leave it. Galfredick aggressively scratched his head, flashing a crooked smirk. Man, what a brutal shame. If Count Evergrow were here, he would instantly realize how insanely overpowered you are. He confidently shot his hand out toward Eugene. Spitting nothing but facts, Galfredick boldly declared, it was an absolute honor to share a battlefield with such a cracked knight. Let us pray we are not standing on opposite sides next time we meet. Eugene stared at the offered hand for a second before reaching out. Eugene locked his grip tightly around Galfredick's hand, sharing a look of sheer mutual respect. In the background, Rabin hung back, aggressively waving goodbye. Stay safe out there, Lord Galfredick. Instantly flipping the switch, Eugene barked orders at Partek to pack up and get moving. Partek snapped to attention. On it, boss. Field tilted his head, visibly confused. Wait, literally 10 seconds ago, Partek totally ignored him, dropping a random question instead. Hey, how exactly is Lord Galfredick getting around? Field's brain clicked. Oh, horses. Partek snapped his fingers. Bingo. A true knight needs a ride. So step 1, snag you a horse. Step 2, hit up the trade guild to cash in all these insane monster drops. Hearing about the massive loot payout instantly hyped Field up. Then I am ready to be your absolute best, most hardcore squire ever. Out of nowhere, Eugene glared at the overly excited wannabe with literal murder in his eyes. I literally do not need your services anytime soon. Philip froze, utterly shell-shocked. Wait. Bro, what do you mean, smash cut? Philip was now miserably hauling a massive wooden crate at a dusty construction site when a foreman screamed at him. Yo slacker, put your back into it. Meanwhile, over in the kingdom of Kaler's biggest bustling trade hub, a massive cargo ship had just pulled into port. The entire dock froze, jaws dropping at the absolute mountain of loot. The crowd was buzzing. Wait, did that one solo knight seriously haul all this back? Rabin leaned back, crossed his arms, and let out a booming laugh. You bet, every single piece of this is Knight Yen Eugene's personal loot. The crowd's eyes practically popped out of their skulls. Hold up. Is not Yen Eugene that insanely hyped rookie who absolutely wiped the floor with those savage hounds in Lord Tywin's territory? Wait, seriously, the same absolute madman who snapped a monster dog's neck using his bare hands. Rabin jabbed a finger forward, barking out, Yo merchant, keep your hands off that stash. Philip tilted his head back, sweat dripping down his face. Sir Eugene, he muttered under his breath. Things were dragging out, but just then a voice echoed from inside. Please, zero need to stress, Lord Eugene. I'm Billmore, stepping up for the Palin Guild. We're the ultimate trading empire of Ma. Let me personally handle all this epic loot for you. Eugene locked eyes with Billmore. Honestly, he'd been totally side-eyeing Partek's merchant connections at first, but he never expected a massive corporate powerhouse to show up. For a total outsider like him, this was a massive flex. The merchant kept pitching, practically buzzing with hype. With my hustle, I'll crash those raw material costs straight to the floor. Lock in an exclusive deal with me, and I swear, suddenly heavy deliberate footsteps echoed near the doorway. Bang. The door swung wide open as a guy barged in, his tone ice cold. Who exactly is this knight Eugene? Eugene barely reacted, casually resting his chin on his hand. Beside him, Partek leaned in and whispered frantically, Lord Eugene, things are about to get incredibly messy. Eugene cocked his head. Why? Partek gulped. That guy is the personal secretary for the Palin, vice guildmaster. Eugene cut him off completely. And give me the short version. Partek scrambled to explain. I mean, he holds way more clout than Billmore, the guy we're literally trying to make a deal with right now. Looks like he wants to snatch up Lord Yan's drops for pennies to farm passive income. You need to watch your back. Eugene's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. Watch my back, sweating bullets. Billmore flashed a shaky grin. Mr. Grail, Sir Eugene is actually in the middle of a private negotiation with me right now. Grail ruthlessly cut Billmore off. Don't try to flex against someone way out of your league. Besides, I don't see any ink on a contract yet. Lord Eugene, your hype has literally taken over the streets. They claim the savage knight who snapped those hounds' necks is sitting on a mountain of loot, though obviously, that's just pure cap to pump up the market value of your trash. A total rookie scam. Anyway, our Palin Vice Guildmaster wants to lock you into a premium VIP contract. Ditch this dump and follow me. Grail smirked inwardly. A meathead newbie like him is going to get totally played by us. But suddenly, Grail's arrogant grin froze, pure panic flashing across his face. Eugene was glaring daggers right through him. What's with this bossy attitude? Grail stammered. Oh, my deepest apologies. Please let me properly introduce myself. I'm Grail, the right-hand man to the Palin Vice Guildmaster. This is a massive win for you, Lord Eugene. Eugene's voice dropped 10 degrees, absolute frost. A win? What exactly am I winning here? Grail swallowed hard words, dragging out. Better payouts for your drops, of course. Eugene didn't blink, his icy stare pinning the secretary down. Better payouts. Cold sweat was literally pouring down Grail's pale face. Yes, our Vice Guildmaster will personally manage your account. Eugene's eyes slowly widened, unleashing an aura that was straight up terrifying. The sheer pressure rolling off Eugene made Grail's brain short-circuit. If I crossed a line, I am so sorry. I swear I meant zero disrespect. Eugene leaned in, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Zero disrespect. Absolutely traumatized. Grail spun around and practically sprinted for his life. My bad, I'll catch you later. Billmore burst into dramatic, ugly tears. This humble Billmore is literally crying right now. You actually ghosted the Vice Guildmaster just to stick with me. I swear to back you up, 100%, Lord Eugene. Say the word and I'll make it happen, whatever it takes. Eugene just blinked, completely caught off guard. I actually love that energy, his eyes gleamed. So when do we get to work? Eugene pushed himself to his feet, his voice dropping to a deadpan chill. What are you talking about? You're leaving right this second. Billmore's jaw dropped in absolute shock. Wait, seriously? Priscilla raised an eyebrow. Did he actually shoot down your offer? Grail dipped into a low bow, his voice tight. It's beyond humiliating, Vice Guildmaster. The rumors were dead on. This guy is not someone we can just brush off. She just stared silently out the glass. Don't sweat it. Keep your chin up, Grail. Knights love flexing their precious honor to mess with us merchants. Fine. We'll just play our own game and make his life a living nightmare. In our world, cold hard cash and premium inventory are the ultimate weapons. Especially when we're dealing with some broke knight who can't even scrape together enough coins for a halfway decent ride. Head out tonight and drop off some little presents for Eugene. The kind of high-tier gifts a dirt-poor knight could never dream of turning down. Philip's eyes practically bugged out of his head. Wait, you want me to just stay behind and hustle this massive mountain of loot? Eugene didn't miss a beat, his tone strict. You heard me. Keep offloading all those monster parts I dumped at the guild. Philip started low-key panicking. But why? Why am I getting benched again? Is it because I'm too weak to watch your back out there, Lord Eugene? If that's it, I swear I'll start grinding sword practice right this second. Eugene sharply cut him off. Tell me, what exactly is a servant's core duty? Philip tucked his chin, his voice dropping quietly. To back up their knight on the battlefield and manage their everyday life. Spot on. Eugene shrugged it off like it was nothing. You nailed it. Your role is to be my absolute support, flipping our battle drops for massive profit. That's the exact mission I'm officially trusting you with. Go hash out the fine print with Billmore. He's going to show you the ropes of real merchant hustle. Philip stared down at his boots, a wave of reality hitting him hard. He knew the truth. If it weren't for Lord Eugene stepping up, he would have been a goner ages ago. Whining about a side quest like this was just embarrassing. Catching his mood, Eugene added, "Look, once you pull in enough profit, I might actually teach you how to swing a blade. Eventually, I'm going to need you watching my six out in the war zone anyway." A sudden rush of heat hit Philip's face. Totally hit in the feels by Eugene's promise, a soft grin broke out on his face. Pressing his fist over his heart, he made a quiet vow. "I will absolutely handle this, Sir Eugene." Meanwhile, across the map, Yen and Partek were just chilling, wandering through the city streets, tossing out a quick, "Catch you later, boss." Partek dangled a pathetically flat, empty coin pouch in the air. Bro, does cash literally always vaporize this fast? We were barely even spending, and we're literally down to zero, Miriam dramatically groaned, clutching the pathetic little bag. Your wallet is literally starved, and honestly, my heart is breaking right along with it. Boss, are we going to secure the bag again anytime soon? Out of nowhere, Eugene stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes locking onto something in the distance. Displayed right in front of him was a massive, absolutely tanked-out suit of armor. Partek let out a low whistle. Yo, now that is some serious gear. That's basically the ultimate endgame drop for any knight. Eugene blinked, totally thrown off. Wait, you mean it's just insanely overpriced? Partek shook his head. Bro, it's not just expensive. This is straight up heirloom tier loot. Even loaded knights pass this stuff down the family tree. Nobody just trashes gear like that. Suddenly, Rabin burst onto the scene, sprinting toward them and screaming at the top of his lungs. Lord Eugene. We just got major intel. A massive wave of giant roamers just spawned right on the edge of Marin. The whole pack from the eastern woods is pushing straight for the city limits. The Rarin squad is trying to hold the line. Partek cracked his knuckles. Looks like we should probably jump in and help wipe them out this time. He was totally caught off guard when both of them suddenly locked eyes on Rabin. Because unlike grinding through some basic occupied dungeon layer, where monster kills are completely tax-free, this was Marin, the ultimate merchant hub. Literally the most elite zone to flip monster drops and rare loot. You could sell off parts for top-tier prices with zero shipping cuts. Bottom line, this was a golden ticket to farm millions. A shadowy, intense smirk crept onto Eugene's. Let's roll. No point in wasting another second. But just as they turned, a boot stepped out to block their path. Hold up. Partek's eyes went wide. Wait, The guy was completely doubled over, fighting for his absolute life just to breathe. Just, hold on a sec. Rabin stared at him, totally bewildered. Seriously, why is everybody sprinting around panting today? Grail finally caught his breath, straightening up. The Vice Guildmaster. She sent me to drop off a little gift for you. A premier warhorse. The beast stepped forward. Its coat was an absolute pitch-black velvet packed with heavily ripped muscles that looked straight up carved by the gods. This wasn't just a mount. It was a flawless top. His eyes narrowed, flashing with pure disbelief. The Vice Guildmaster handed this down to me, the man stammered, flinching back from that deadly glare. We aren't asking for anything in return. The knight's face contorted with rage as he locked onto him. Cold sweat began pouring down the messenger's trembling face. Think of it as a tiny peace offering. Without wasting another second, the man vaulted onto his horse. Pass my thanks along to your boss, Eugene muttered. Meanwhile, Miriam took off after them, absolutely hyped to snatch up that bag. Rabin's boss stood there completely stunned, pointing a trembling finger forward. He straight up left us. What the hell is the plan now? The captain is blazing fast. There's no way we can catch him. Partek completely lost it, roaring, well, what the heck are you standing around for? He just bailed on us. Move your butts and go after him, you absolute idiots. Rabin instantly snapped to attention. On it, Grail planted his feet, watching the dust settle as they bolted. But right at that exact second, a massive threat was brewing deep inside the eastern woods. Right on the edge of Marin, a pack of goblins stopped dead in their tracks, their ugly heads snapping around to stare behind them. A horse tore through the thick tree line, its hooves hammering the dirt. Eugene was an absolute blur, effortlessly slicing through every single monster in his path. Miriam cackled like a maniac. Yo, master, get a load of that massive swarm crowding the east. That is one massive horde. Did the frontline squad already get wiped out? His eyes burned with an icy arrogance. Perfect. I absolutely hate sharing my loot. The dense woods practically choked on thick, heavy dirt clouds, as his mount just kept galloping like a total beast. Golden rays finally pierced through the heavy forest canopy. Eugene only yanked the reins to slow down when that brilliant light hit his face. Total freaking chaos was going down up ahead. Medrika was trapped in a deadly circle of monsters. Listen here, if you freaks can't finish me off, you are not taking a single step past this line. Suddenly towering golem-like beasts with glowing blood-red eyes threw themselves at him. The brutal impact completely crushed Medrika's defense, sending both rider and mount crashing hard into the dirt. The panicked horse immediately bolted, leaving the battered knight groaning in pure agony. He was Medrika, the mighty knight of justice. He had literally sworn his life on the pride of Marin, but then, bam, a massive blade slammed viciously into the soil right next to him. Medrika shook like a leaf, slowly turning his head toward the horde of bloodthirsty goblins closing in. The so-called brave knight totally broke down, screaming his lungs out. He pathetically cried out, begging them to spare his. Out of absolutely nowhere, a long-range blast ripped through the air. A dark, shadowy figure blitzed onto the scene. Eugene's expression turned ice-cold, his piercing gaze locking onto his prey. His sword danced like a deadly storm, brutally hacking apart one massive goblin after another. Medrika just sat there on the dirt jaw, totally dropped, watching Eugene drift his steed. With crazy precision right through the scattered bloody monster corpses, Medrika let out a breathless, nervous laugh. Man, I owe you my life. Who even are you? But Eugene straight up ignored him. He just delivered a lightning-fast backhand slash, instantly decapitating a sneaky goblin that was totally about to ambush Medrika from behind. The fallen knight scrambled backward, his whole body shaking violently. My name, Eugene, scoffed. Do you seriously think that matters right now? If we get slaughtered in this dirt, knowing who I am won't do squat for you. A massive, endless tsunami of freaks was already charging their way. Fair point, if we actually make it out of this hellhole alive, I'll ask you again. Later, as the caravan finally rolled toward the Great Trade City, hundreds of those ugly goblins swarmed us like absolute roaches. But we held the line. And right when things looked insane, that mysterious knight just started deleting them from existence. And obviously I did my fair share of carrying too. Boom, we secured the ultimate victory and protected Marin. Out of the blue, a random guy in the crowd piped up. Hold up. So who exactly was this overpowered knight? Medrika flashed a huge, dramatic grin. Dying to know, aren't you? He struck a legendary pose, pointing fiercely at the sky. That man is Yan Eugene. The entire crowd instantly went, wait, isn't Yan Eugene that insane dude who completely soloed the dungeon over in the Taiwan territory? Bro, rumor has it he literally ripped the spine straight out of a hellhound. While the beast was still breathing, no way, that top-tier legend actually defended our city of Marion. Sir Yan Eugene is the absolute savior of Marion. The plaza literally shook as people started hyping him up, chanting Yan Eugene high above the noise. Louis Pylon stared down from his premium office window. The entire city is losing its mind over this guy, he muttered. And the more his hype blows up, the harder it's going to be to keep him on a leash. Meet Louise Pylon, the ex-boss of the Pylon Trade Guild, now sitting comfortably as the mayor of Marin. So, are we seriously just going to let this slide? So he probed Priscilla, my gorgeous niece. She dipped into a graceful bow. Without a doubt, we've got everything entirely locked down. Honestly, we're crossing our fingers that Lord Eugene blows up and gets even more clout. The bigger a knight's hype, the more terrified they are of falling off. Speaking of which, have you dug up any dirt on that apprentice? The kid tagging along with Yan Eugene. Pylon pressed on the little runner, dropping off all his dungeon loot at our guild. She smirked. Yep. From the intel I've gathered, that kid is the hidden illegitimate heir of the Taiwan bloodline. Pylon's jaw practically hit the floor in pure shock. Oh, it gets better, Priscilla elaborated. While Sir Yan's endgame is a bit sketchy, it looks like he's grinding for cash here, just to bankroll the Taiwan kid. If we play our cards right and manipulate them both, we essentially secure a VIP connection with the guy destined to run the entire Taiwan empire. Pylon nodded frantically, totally blown away. Man, now that is my brilliant niece. I totally see your vision. We buy out the heavy-hitting knight backing the bastard kid. Alright, I'm definitely shipping a massive care package over to Sir Eugene. As Marin's mayor, it's only right I reward the absolute legend who fixed our city's mess. I'm officially making you his point of contact. Milk this opportunity for all it's worth. Priscilla beamed. You got it, sir. Thanks. Right then, pitch-black darkness swallowed the sky, shrouding the grand fortress in heavy shadows. A manicured finger elegantly hoisted a porcelain teacup. A dying man will always crawl to the oasis. A merchant just needs to wait. A wicked calculating smirk slashed across Priscilla's face. Build the well, and watch them beg. Heavy rhythmic footsteps echoed down the hall. Zero hesitation. Right on cue, the massive oak doors groaned open. Eugene stepped into the dim light, looming right in front of Priscilla. Asterisk, I'll just wait until he's completely addicted to the water I'm selling times, she thought, her eyes flashing with pure toxicity. Out loud she purred, right this way, sir. He was decked out in heavy-duty, impenetrable plating, the literal savior of Marin. Sir Yan Eugene, she greeted. He grunted, I just dropped by to pay my respects. You're Priscilla, the second in command of the Pylon Trade Guild here in Marin, yeah. She flashed a rehearsed smile. Spot on. I'm Priscilla, the deputy director. Take a seat, Yan Eugene. Asterisk. Hard to believe a guy with your visuals is the same savage beast who was literally crushing hound skulls out there, times she mused. His expression was completely deadpan, giving off a totally icy, intimidating vibe compared to the basic knights she usually dealt with. The high-tier armor sponsored by the mayor looked insanely good on him. It was tailored at Marin's top-tier blacksmith shop. The metal was a crazy hybrid of elite steel Elsic iron and ground-up goblin bones. That gear was so cracked, not even a dragon's fang could scratch it. Priscilla leaned in. So, how's the fit? He took a beat before mumbling. Yeah, it's solid. Because of this, I won't have to stress as much when I'm raiding dungeons. Appreciate the luxury suite, and the premium food drops too. My mercs are totally hyped and energized right now. Fingers crossed we bag some elite loot on the next run. I honestly wasn't expecting all these freebies, but I respect the hustle. Priscilla flashed a winning smile, but out of nowhere, Eugene shot up from his chair. Now, regarding my business pitch, she started. I'm swamped. Got a blast, he bluntly cut her off. Priscilla was completely thrown off guard. Wait, you're dipping already. Eugene shot back with absolute ice in his voice. Hit me up once you guys actually clear out the Tywin family's dungeon. Don't sweat the small stuff. Look, my contract is strictly tied to dropping off loot at this hall. Honestly, consider this our finale. From here on out, I'm purely grinding for mana stones. Eugene gave her the cold shoulder, pivoting to walk out. Fine then, Priscilla snapped, her temper flaring. Hold up, his lethal gaze snapped back, locking onto her. Priscilla didn't back down. We are far from done talking. His eyes turned to slits as he low-key growled. The hell is that supposed to mean? She scoffed. Oh, quit playing dumb. An open-tab top-tier Demon Mountain armor, a purebred Royal Stallion, penthouse suites, and 5-star feasts for your entire squad. The trash mob loot you peddle to our guild every single day wouldn't even dent 50% of that tab. Billmore and Grail hung onto every single syllable. Priscilla leaned in, her tone dripping with condescension. Don't act completely clueless. Everything in this world comes with a painfully steep price tag. Did you completely sleep through that lesson? Or are you seriously just some cheap knight who has zero concept of actual honor? Do you really want your adoring fan club in Marin to uncover the ugly truth? Eugene's icy stare locked onto Marin's supposed hero, Sir Yan Eugene. Priscilla pleaded, pushing her luck. Are you seriously just going to turn your back and bail right now? Sir Yan Eugene, at least give me your reasoning. His lips practically quivered, struggling to maintain composure. He looked like he was about to snap. Instead, a dangerously dark smirk spread across Eugene's face as he fired back. Hilarious. You try bossing me around the second we meet, force random gifts down my throat, and now you have the absolute nerve to demand a refund. Who do you think you are? A pathetic, low-tier merchant actually trying to threaten me. Every single syllable dripped with pure venom. He stepped closer, shadows clinging to his frame. You are severely delusional about your own leverage, so let me spell this out for you. I could care less if the entire city of Marin drags my name through the mud, but like you just preached, everything has a price. So go ahead, run your mouth. But you are about to discover the agonizingly steep cost of crossing me, deputy director of the Pylon Guild, because from where I'm standing, you and your entire guild are conspiring to backstab the exact knight who literally saved this damn city. Keep playing these dirty games, and the next time monsters breach those walls, absolutely zero knights will stick their necks out to defend Marin. We are completely done here. I'm out. Partek pivoted on his heel, tossing a sarcastic glare backward. Sorry for the harsh vibe, deputy. Total bummer. If you hadn't totally botched this, we might have actually formed an elite squad. Billmore awkwardly studied Deputy Priscilla's shattered composure. Out of nowhere, she finally broke the suffocating silence. Sir Yan Eugene, wait, just hold on a second, she gasped out. I was way out of line. I, Priscilla, deputy of the Pylon Trade Guild's Marin branch, formally and deeply apologize for my massive disrespect. Eugene. My toxic greed completely took over. I tried to manipulate the situation and seize total control of our partnership. To make up for this absolute failure, I am begging for a total reset. Let's start fresh, Sir Eugene. We will lock in the current deal with Billmore and instantly draft some heavy bonus clauses. I swear on my life you won't have to stress over a single thing. Honestly, I'm so sick of fake knights who instantly fold for a flashy bribe. Most of them are just mindless clowns, totally obsessed with chasing clout and quick cash. But this guy, he hits entirely different. Eugene's gaze remained intensely predatory. He is way too lethal to play stupid games with. And honestly, my hardcore merchant instincts are screaming at me to never let him slip away. Priscilla abruptly locked eyes with him. Eugene's expression went pitch black as he muttered, "Fine, pitch me your new deal, but it absolutely needs to blow my mind." Priscilla clutched her heart, beaming with raw relief. "Thank you so much for wiping the slate clean." Priscilla pressed a trembling hand to her chest, flashing a genuinely relieved smile. "Thanks again for pardoning my massive fail. A true knight absolutely needs god-tier armor and a beast of a horse to look insanely intimidating. Yeah, it sounds a little cringe, but honestly, this kingdom is ridiculously gorgeous." Partek suddenly jumped into the conversation. "This new contract is absolutely stacked." He glanced down at the parchment. "You seriously vibe with it too?" Partek vigorously bobbed his head. "Oh, 100%. The Pylon Guild is way too massive to sleep on. Their main hub is right here in Marin, but they literally operate hundreds of outposts across the whole empire. They exclusively run trades with elite, top-tier bloodlines. Kind of like the mighty Tywin family. Just look at this insane flex. They're offering us VIP access to an unlimited supply of deadly dungeons and labyrinths tied to their network. That is an absolutely game-changing perk. With a cheat code like this, we're eating better than the actual royals." He was practically buzzing with hype. An absolutely legendary masterclass in negotiating, man. "You seriously crushed it, Sir Eugene." Eugene's stoic face completely scrunched up in annoyance. "I only agreed so we could finally ditch that annoying drama." Suddenly, an obnoxiously loud voice ripped through the air. "Do you actually think slapping on some shiny metal makes you a real warrior? Look at this baby-faced loser. Can he even grip a blade without crying?" Miriam instantly snapped back. "Yo, what the hell did that ugly mashed potato-looking punk just say?" Camera casually strolled up waving with a massive grin. "Wow, you guys showed up at the perfect time." Eugene blinked, totally caught off guard. "Wait. Lord Kamara. Or should I drop the formalities and call you Lord Tywin now?" The nobleman chuckled effortlessly. "Bro, call me whatever you want. You've had a massive glow-up yourself," Eugene fired back. "How's the chaotic family drama treating you these days?" Kamara sighed heavily. "Ugh, my toxic little brother is still throwing tantrums." The dude literally went and bought out an entire squad of extra mercenaries, but this time the vibes are completely off. Caught off guard, Eugene narrowed his eyes. "Think back to those hired guns my brother brought into Ambush Field," he murmured. "The crew that ended up as Wolfchow. Yeah, absolute scumbags, every single one of them. This new squad gives off the exact same shady energy." His piercing stare scanned the group, dissecting their every move. Kamara chimed in. "For this dungeon raid, I am officially putting Sir Eugene in the driver's seat." Suddenly a voice interrupted. "Yo, Lord Tywin, if this kid kicks the bucket down there, do I get the captain's badge?" Kamara gasped, totally blindsided. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Maverick smirked back. "Sir, I am just keeping it real. We are not on a Boy Scout hike. Down in the dungeon, human life is absolutely worthless. We have to prep for the worst-case scenarios." His eyes were dead serious, demanding zero slip-ups. Maverick radiated pure, cocky arrogance. After he dragged out his little speech, Captain Eugene glanced over his shoulder. "Fair point. If I bite the dust, then this obnoxious punk gets the promotion." Kamara stood there totally stunned. Eugene dropped a sly hint. "We have got a backup plan. Move out." Out of nowhere, Miriam thrust out a finger and yelled, "That dude is so annoying." Eugene's voice dropped to ice. "I know. This has Bertel's filthy fingerprints all over it. He is planning to use these thugs to wipe me out in the shadows. But if this doesn't play out the way those idiots planned, this could actually be pretty entertaining." Flash forward, and Eugene's razor-sharp blade was slicing through enemies like butter. The dark cavern quickly became a graveyard of butchered monsters. His sword arm was a blur of lethal motion, striking with brutal, unstoppable momentum. Maverick observed from the sidelines, eyes narrowed. The rumors were totally justified. Holding the front line solo against hundreds of beasts, Eugene made the hired muscle look completely useless. It was like a massive, impenetrable wall was shielding the whole party. Maverick ground his teeth, seething with jealousy at Eugene's insane skills. He just had to bide his time. One perfect opening, and he would drag his poisoned dagger right across that arrogant, punchable face. Eugene's shout shattered the silence. Listen up, we are entering the mid-tier monster zone. Past this point, your survival is not my problem. Tag along if you have a death wish. Let me make this crystal clear, only step forward if you are ready to bleed. Maverick shot back. If the captain marches in, how can we back out? The perfect chance is right here. Rabin chuckled. Guess we are rolling with you then. Partek threw his hand out. Hold up. We are staying put. Rabin whipped his head around, totally confused. Partek muttered. Something tells me Sir Eugene has his own hidden agenda. As the core group plunged deeper into the suffocating darkness, Eugene's mind started racing. Last time I cleared this place, Gelfredic was by my side. Without him, this is honestly just boring. Flashes of his old comrade sparked in his memory. Just from watching him, you knew Gelfredic was a god-tier tactical leader. He knew exactly how to hype up the squad, always throwing himself into the deadliest choke points without a second thought. If he were here right now, he would probably solo this entire hellhole even while babysitting these useless clowns. Eugene's boots echoed slowly against the cavern floor. At this point, I really wonder, how would Gelfredic handle this mess? He paused, dropping the act. So you guys are finally done with this pathetic little charade. Cool. If you want to die that badly, I will happily grant your wish. The mercenaries froze in pure shock. What the hell was that? Where is that fire coming from? Miriam flashed a wicked, smirk, blazing magical energy radiating from his palms. Flames instantly engulfed the thugs. Run, it is a freaking trap. He is a mage. Panic erupted. I am blind, I can't see. Desperate to stop the bleeding, Maverick barked orders and scrambled to spark the torches back to life. But pitch-black darkness swallowed them again. Why the hell are you idiots fumbling around? I can't see a damn thing. Moving like a shadow, Eugene started slaughtering them in the pitch black. Light, a torch. Wait. What was that? Did you hear that? Ambush. We are getting slaughtered. Everyone swing your weapons. The cave echoed with a chorus of agonizing screams. Hold your fire. You are hitting our own guys. A sinister glowing red wire began wrapping tightly around their limbs. My legs. Ah. Now the void was deafening with pure terror. Maverick bit his lips so hard it bled, absolutely paralyzed by fear. I didn't plan for this. In the dark, this monster has the absolute high ground. Trembling violently, he frantically smashed his flints together. Spark, damn it, light up. Maverick's blood ran cold. A subtle sound behind him sent shivers down his spine. Trembling, he slowly craned his neck backward. Why was the room suddenly dead silent? Eugene's deliberate heavy footsteps crept closer. Then a chilling whisper breathed directly against his ear. Need a little light. Looks like you're struggling in the dark. Let me help you out. Mortal eyes are so pathetic, completely useless in the shadows. Well, how about now? Is it crystal clear yet who exactly is the apex predator, and who is just the prey? Maverick's face drained of all color. He could barely choke out a single terrified, huh? His voice cracked, staring straight into a nightmarish grin packed with razor-sharp fangs. Monster Smash cut to the mansion's exterior. Torrential rain lashed down as deafening thunder ripped across the pitch-black sky. Frantic, splashing footsteps echoed through the storm. Right then, Kamara screamed in absolute panic. Sir, you're just standing there staring out the window. After a tense beat, Eugene slowly threw a glare over his shoulder. Bertel stood completely frozen, utterly clueless about what was happening. Kamara stuttered out, Do you actually think that's real? Bertel scowled, deeply glaring at the guy in front of them. What kind of psycho nightmare is this? Eugene simply scoffed. Why don't you ask the man himself? Go on, ask him directly. With a brutal thud, a massive muscular body was violently hurled onto the hard marble floor. Bertel's jaw practically hit the floor. The battered assassin grabbed his own face, sobbing uncontrollably. We were supposed to take him out. I was hired to murder Yen Eugene. It was on Bertel Tywin's direct orders. Hearing his full name dropped, Bertel choked out a nervous, totally fake laugh and immediately started backpedaling. That absolute lunatic is just spewing garbage. He's totally lost his mind. Hearing those excuses, Kamara snapped and roared, Brother, are you seriously going to push this lie? Bertel shot him a nasty side-eye, doubling down. You need a reality check, man. Are you actually buying the delusions of a psycho? Bertel snarled. Maverick cut the crap and tell the actual truth. But Eugene was already looming behind the broken assassin. His piercing blood-red eyes flared with dark magic, completely mind-controlling Maverick. "Tell them." "What did I do?" Under the spell, Maverick chanted hollowly. "How could I ever dare strike my master? A piece of trash like me just deserves to die." Kamara saw Maverick suddenly sprint forward. "Wait, what the hell are you doing?" he screamed, but it was way too late. Maverick launched himself, shattering the massive glass window. He threw his entire body into the dark abyss. Kamara slammed his hands onto the broken window frame, screaming Maverick's name into the roaring storm. A split second later, Maverick's falling body was violently impaled on the stone sword of the courtyard statue. Total panic erupted. Bertel desperately spun the narrative. "See that, brother? The dude clearly lost his marbles after watching his crew get shredded like wet tissue paper. You'd be crazy to believe his paranoid garbage, right?" Kamara's face darkened in disgust. "Watching you secretly celebrate his brutal suicide only makes you look guilty as hell." Bertel was totally speechless, cornered by his own brother. Panicking, he aggressively pivoted back to Eugene. "And you, Eugene, do you have zero shred of knightly honor left in your body? How dare you try to frame me with these insanely toxic, baseless rumors?" Eugene's expression turned dangerously lethal. He stepped up, demanding Bertel, "Swear on your precious knightly honor right now. Are you 100% innocent?" Even though Bertel was visibly sweating bullets, he still forced out a shaky "Of course I am." Instantly, Eugene raised his arm and projected his voice. Then Bertel Tywin, in the absolute name of honor, and in the pure name of truth, Eugene drew his razor-sharp blade, aiming it straight at Bertel's throat. "I challenge you to a duel to the death to prove it." Cornered and outplayed, Bertel could only grind his teeth in furious silence. Cut to the next afternoon. Intense gossip was spreading through the courtyard like wildfire. Yo is the second young master seriously throwing down in the main plaza. "Bro, what kind of massive drama is he stirring up this time? Dude, I heard a crazy rumor that he actually hired a hit squad. A literal assassin. Ugh, he's always been super toxic, but crossing this line, he is totally cooked." "Wait, who was the target?" The crowd watched with bated breath as Eugene and Bertel squared off in the dusty arena. Word on the street is he tried to wipe out the boss's top merc, Sir Eugene. In the ring, Eugene, deadly calm, raised his glowing blade into a battle stance. Camera stood on the sidelines, his stomach tied in knots. He squeezed his eyes shut, knowing this blood feud had gone way past the point of no return. Today, pure raw violence would expose the liar. The cold, hard truth was about to be carved out by steel, guided by the merciless will of the gods. The camera locked onto Eugene's ice-cold, unbothered smirk. He was fully ready to bathe his hands in victory. Losing his mind, Bertel let out a completely feral roar. He gripped his heavy broadsword with both hands and launched himself like a rabid dog straight at Eugene. Eugene didn't even flinch. He simply flicked his wrist, bringing his blade up just in time. The two massive weapons clashed with an ear-piercing, sparks-flying screech as Bertel desperately pressed his attack. He threw everything he had into the assault, but he still couldn't break through his opponent's iron defense. Then, out of nowhere, a sudden memory made Eugene's focus slip. His mind flashed back to Bertel's frantic warning. "We tracked down a Nightwalker. Reporting to you right now." The memory of young Derek snapping back to reality hit him hard. "I've been hunted by freaks like you for over 10 years. That raw confession made Eugene freeze in his tracks. Fueled by sheer panic, but spotting a golden opening, his opponent whipped his massive blade down for a lethal strike. The crushing parry sent Bertel skidding backward. He ground his teeth in pure frustration, staring down at his vibrating weapon after ripping his blade away. Suddenly, a devastating counterforce launched his sword, spiraling wild. The heavy steel plummeted, stabbing deep into the dirt. A split second later, Bertel's legs gave out, and he crashed onto the battlefield. Eugene's pupils ignited with a sinister blood-red glow, his voice dripping with pure, unadulterated murder. "Now eat this." Bertel choked on his panic, his eyes bulging in absolute terror as the final blow descended. Meanwhile, Kamara always thought his brother's blade skills were top tier, but right now anyone with eyes could see Bertel was locked in pure pathetic paralysis. Watching his little brother eat dirt, a chilling reality check hit Kamara. Eugene was leagues above anything Bertel could handle. Choking on the suffocating boss-level aura radiating off Eugene, Kamara knew immediately this guy was built completely different. Without a second thought, one of Bertel's arms was violently blasted away. Panic-stricken Kamara finally dashed forward, screaming at him to hold up. Eugene shot him a dead-eyed glare and mocked his exact word, "Hold up." He casually stepped aside. This deathmatch isn't over. Desperate Lord Tywin Kamara threw his arm up to hijack the execution. I absolutely refuse to watch my own blood get slaughtered by Lord Eugene, he barked. Dripping blood, Bertel Tywin was way too shattered to back up his earlier trash talk. The ultimate dub officially went to Sir Yen Eugene. But from his knees, Bertel started screaming like a lunatic. Hell no, I'm not done yet. I'll put this freak in the dirt myself. He lashed out in pure toxic rage, his veins literally boiling over as he locked his crazed eyes on his target.